gonna drop the big one.
What? Over? Did you say over?
Is tied.
Sherman? Forget it, he's rolling.
Over. Here's the chance.
It's over.
Nothing is over. Here's the chance. Bennett in front. Kachuk. And Bennett scores.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Nice pass across. Here's Jackson. Here's Jackson. Scores! Leon Draisaitl's won it. At the 56-second mark. Team 4, 11:40, and here's Marchand looking for the first goal, and he has it at 9:12. Is in. Matthew Tkachuk. Bennett scores. Sam Bennett has up Florida's lead. And we'll meet once again on Tuesday with the Cup in the building.
And yes, guys, the Stanley Cup will be in the building tonight as the Florida Panthers could either win their back-to-back Stanley Cups, joining the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings, the last two to have back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. But can McDavid keep him alive? That's the other question we're going to be talking about and answering right now. I, of course, guys, am your host, Mark Williams, and welcome back to Big Apple Hockey. I didn't say that. I forgot to say that. All right, and I'm joined by the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Folkowski.
9 days away from a draft, but are we hours away from a cup winner being decided? We'll find out.
And to discuss it all, the man from the hockey news, booking everybody for the show, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Mark, I was surprised to see you weren't one of the first 6 players named to Team USA's preliminary roster for the Olympics next February. I have to say, you were snubbed.
Well, thanks, Anthony, because I do have to say I kind of feel like I deserved to be on there. But, I mean, the bigger surprise was that Leon Draisaitl made it for Germany. I don't know how they were able to fit him in the first 6 for them. But let's get to talking about Leon Draisaitl and, of course, plenty of action that happened in the Stanley Cup Finals. By the way, everybody, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and hit the bell. We're more than just New York, and well, we're everything. We talk about the New York teams and everything. So let's get to the A block, and we'll talk about that one too. I doubt that's the case, but Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available for you. Just click the link down below. The A block is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, $20 off your first order. So, as you guys saw in the intro, Stanley Cup. By the way, also stay tuned. We have a lot of draft coverage coming up this week. A mock draft, plenty of great interviews, guests coming on. We have a ton of things coming. You got to get ready for that. So, guys, Game 4, Leon Draisaitl caps a 3-0 comeback after a first period that it looked like the Penguins were just going to, the Panthers were just going to roll all over the Edmonton Oilers. Instead, they win it. The Panthers tying it with 17 seconds. What a game that was. It was incredible. And then Game 5, Brad Marchand scores twice. And Sam Bennett scores his 15th goal, leading everybody in the playoffs. Florida wins 5-2. Bill, I'll start with you on this one. Thoughts on Games 4 and 5, and will Florida close it out tonight?
Game 4 was one of the most exciting games I've watched in a while. Game 5 was a bit of a bore. Florida played the game perfectly. Thought some of the calls were a little in their favor. I think the second Evander Kane penalty, I think, was a little nonsense. I thought Florida just played a real solid game up and down. Once they got their forecheck going, it looked like they started trapping a little bit at some points in that game, which was kind of odd because that's kind of going away from the way that they played, but they were clogging up the neutral zone, and you could even see the frustration on McDavid and Draisaitl's faces. I think personally Edmonton comes back tonight. I don't know if they could win I don't know if they can win 2 in a row, but I think they come back and at least win tonight. Game 7's kind of up in the air. Florida has done a good job of getting under Edmonton's skin. The away from the play stuff that they get away with. And, Steven said this to me the other, actually, no, actually it wasn't Steven. It was somebody else that said this to me. It was, Florida gets away with a lot of what they get away with because they're of the philosophy that they can only call so many penalties come playoff time. And you've got to be prepared to play against a team that plays like that. And I think Edmonton has done a better job this year of it. But they've also gotten away from that at times, and it costs them. Like this is one of the big things. Edmonton needs to stop giving up the first goal. They have to play ahead. And if they can play ahead, then yeah, they can win this series. But the defensive lapses have been too much. Matthias Ekholm, great goal by Brad Marchand, but what was Matthias Ekholm doing there? Like he was sleeping on that, and you can't have that in the finals. Yeah, it's unacceptable. Doesn't matter if you're coming back from an injury. I don't think that really had anything to do with it. I think he just got caught sleeping, and Marchand made him pay for it. And good on Marchand to do so. I mean, if you find a top-level defender like that and you see him flat-footed, caught sleeping, whatever you want to call it, take advantage of it. And he did. And he made a great move. He made a great shot, and he put Florida ahead. And that was really like the thing, because if Florida gets ahead, then they could start playing their game and they could start locking down. Yes, Florida's third line has been very, very good in this series. I heard I think it might have been Frank Saravalli might have been saying it, but Florida has been a 3-line team and Edmonton has been a 4-line team. But Florida's top 3 lines have been unbelievable. Especially their third line has just been, and even their fourth line is giving them productive shifts. Like I don't want to say that they're a complete fourth line, a 4-line team, just because the fourth line doesn't give you the offense there. Like they don't really chip in much offensively, but their fourth line is going out and is wearing them down. It's kind of like I always bring up that Earth, Wind, and Fire comparison with the New York Giants and how Jacobs would go out and he'd wear down the front 7, the defensive front 7, and then Bradshaw and Ward would come in and they would just slash through defensives at that point that were tired. So, I would definitely say that the fourth line has been doing that for them, but Florida's top 3 lines have been unbelievable. Bobrovsky's been good when he had to be. But you know what? Edmonton just doesn't have it in net, and that's a big problem. You can't. You can win with hot goaltending, but you cannot win with subpar goaltending. And that's what Edmonton has really kind of had, is they've had subpar goaltending, and it doesn't get it done.
Well, I'm going to go to the man who said Florida in 6, Mr. LaRocco. What do you think? Florida closes it out tonight?
Alexa, play Closing Time by Semisonic.
Alexa, stop.
Yeah, you know what? I like you referenced my pick. Mark's playing it for now, Mark.
All right.
I just think Florida is going to close it out tonight. I think, this is a team that's won a cup. They know what it takes. I think they don't want any part of what happened to them last year, going to a Game 7. They're on home ice. And I think this is just where players like Marchand and Bennett raise their game to even higher level, which is scary because, they're already playing unbelievable. But I think those two type of character guys, and really the whole team, a guy like Lesterainen, I think he's going to come out and play that style he always plays. I just think that the Panthers team is just going to get it done tonight. And that's no, knock on Draisaitl and McDavid, because they're certainly amazing. But I just think Florida, they're they're just up and down their lineup with their depth. Like we said, that third line, Marchand, Lundell, and Lesterainen. They've been phenomenal. So Barkov is has played better as the series went on. They're getting the somewhat of the timely saves from Bobrovsky. And I just think this Panthers team is destined to win back-to-back, just like the Lightning did a couple of years ago. I mean, with that said, if it does go to a 7, I think the Oilers obviously have the upper hand just because they're in their own building, and I think Florida recognizes that and understands it. I don't think they want any part of it. I think they're going to be super motivated to go out there tonight, play their style, keep getting under the skin of the Oilers' skilled players. Even a guy like Evander Kane, you can clearly tell they're getting to him. Corey Perry, he's a veteran guy, but it seems like he can have a short fuse sometimes. He's a guy you're going to want to go after because he retaliates every now and then. So I just think they're going to keep doing these things. They're going to be pushing the buttons of the Oilers, and they're just going to play their game. And I think ultimately they're going to win, the cup tonight and have their names enshrined on the silver chalice yet again. So we'll see. Obviously, it could be wrong, but my gut says the Panthers, and I'm going to stick with that prediction. Panthers in 6, and I think it's over tonight. And after that, the fun starts with the offseason and trades and rumors. So let's get to it.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some mock trades later on, so everybody keep it here for that. My first thought is Florida Panthers do not bring out a Miami Dolphin to bang the drum, because every time they brought out a Miami Dolphin, they had Jason Taylor for Game 4 and they lost. I think they've been winless in like this stretch of playoff games whenever they have a Miami Dolphin to bang the drum. So they're probably going to bring out like a Florida Panther. Last year was Roberto Luongo, I think, for Game 7. So maybe it could be like, I don't know, pull out like John Van Beesbrook or somebody that, inspire the crowd, get them pumped. My thought immediately goes to Toronto, where they looked like they were dead in the water. They go to Florida. They force Game 7. Connor McDavid is yet to really make his presence felt in this series. So he's going to put forth his best game. Leon Draisaitl is going to put forth his best game. I would not be shocked if this goes back to Edmonton. I know Florida doesn't want to do that. Having said all that, guys, cue the All-American rejects. It ends tonight. The Florida Panthers will win the Stanley Cup tonight. They are not going to let this opportunity pass them, and they're going to be listed with one of the great teams of all time. And it's funny, Anthony, because what's the one thing everybody said about the dynasty New York Islanders? If you want to play run and gun, they can play run and gun with you. You want to play shutdown, they can play shutdown with you. That's what this Panthers sort of reminds me of. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they can play that up-tempo hockey, but they also defend well, and they're physical, and they go into the corners, and every single player on that roster knows what it takes to win. None of them will shy away from a hit or be hesitant to initiate contact. They all pull it on the same rope, and I think to win come playoff time and ultimately win a cup, you need that, and the Panthers certainly have it in droves.
And Phil, what is it McDavid can do differently? Is he just getting bottled up, or is there just something not right with him in the series? Only one goal in the series.
Barkov's done a really good job on him. There's not a whole lot you can say there. I mean, he's still scoring points. Obviously not at the rate that he's done so in previous postseasons. Definitely not the way that he won off last postseason. I think Connor McDavid needs to do a little bit better of a job of trying to fight through some of the nonsense that Florida is, sending his way and getting away with. But I think he can find a way. Can he do it for 2 games in a row, really? That's the thing. I think Florida's a really tough team to rip off multiple wins in a row against. I think another thing is coaching. I think there's a clear difference in coaching, a clear advantage in Florida's favor. Paul Maurice is a far and away better coach than Chris Knobloch. And it's no disrespect to Chris Knobloch, who I think has done a good job with this team for the shortcomings that they do have. But there's no argument here. It's Paul Maurice is by far a better coach. He's made the adjustments, and I just really, can Chris Knobloch make those adjustments now? Can he counteract? Can he come back? Can he do something to open up space for McDavid? He's tried a bunch of different things, but nothing has really worked so far. So.
And it's going to be interesting to see if McDavid could shake loose and get free tonight, especially the way everything's been going for him. And again, like you mentioned, we're going to talk about it later. He does have one gorgeous highlight film play that happened. Yeah. But it's also going to be like outside of, I think it's 6 points he's got in this series right now. I have to double check. But Florida's done a great job against them. And that's what happens when you have two of the better defensive players that are going to be matched up against them. And the worst part is that they're producing and he's not. All right, guys, we're going to move on now. And let's talk some mock trades. And in our segment, Who Says No?
It's a no for me, dog.
No.
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 Because after all, the silly season is almost upon us. And welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Who Says No, where we ask which team is going to say no to these mock trades that we've assembled. And a guy that we're going to be talking about here and in the Bar Talk segment is JJ Peterka, who is on the block with the Buffalo Sabres, we're hearing. But to the New York Rangers, JJ Peterka and Bowen Byram are going back to Buffalo, Alexei Lafreniere and Keandre Miller. I will see to you, Mr. Fokowski. Who says no to this one?
I think both teams accept. I think that, and this is something I literally said to myself, I think it was either yesterday or earlier on this morning, I was talking about, I definitely don't think that's terrible for the Rangers at all. I don't know why anyone would say this. Listen, Lafreniere might end up becoming a very good player elsewhere, but it seems like there's something that's just not there in New York. And I say the same thing about Keandre Miller. I don't know if they need a change of scenery to become the players that they're going to become. Look at JT Miller. JT Miller himself said that the trade to Vancouver was a wake-up call, that second trade. I think maybe we'll talk about that later, but
I meant to highlight that one.
I don't think either team declines this, because I think that both teams understand that the players need a change of scenery. This is a hockey deal. This is a hockey deal. And I think both teams say yes. I think both teams are happy to have the guys go from their team and try to take a chance on newer players in a different environment. So I'm gonna say, if anything, this goes through.
By the way, Anthony, who's the USA shirt you got on? Is that Johnny Gaudreau?
No, it's not a player. It's just the generic USA shirt from the Four Nations tournament. No,
okay. Well, Anthony, who says no to this one?
I think you have the basis of a deal here. Buffalo wants to switch things up. Peterka has been rumored to possibly want out. Lafreniere has certainly struggled, but he's still young and has upside. So I think, when you compare those two players, you could say now Peterka is the better player, but, it's not by a ton, and Lafreniere still has the potential. And then Byram and Miller, that's pretty close too. You have a guy in Keandre Miller who has the raw talent, but just, hasn't really put it all together. And in some instances really hasn't been nearly good enough defensively in his own zone. Byram, I think, has the higher ceiling. Just, he was the higher pick. I think he's a guy that, I think Colorado maybe envisioned to be like a Devon Taves type player in terms of the way he skates. But overall, I think all four of these players, kind of need a change of scenery. And I think it's a deal that can go down. You might maybe need to tinker with a asset maybe on one side or so, like a mid-round pick maybe, or prospect that's not really too significant. But either way, how do you slice it? I think it's really close, and ultimately, like I said, I think it's certainly a basis of the deal here.
I agree with you guys that it's a basis of the deal. But for the fact of the game, I am going to say that it's the Rangers that would say no. Follow me along, only because you got Miller, who's an RFA, Peterka, who's Peterka's an RFA, right, Phil?
Yeah, Peterka's going to be a restricted
RFA,
free agent.
RFA. Byram, I believe, only has one more year on his deal, and then Lafreniere has the 7 years on his deal. So Lafreniere is locked up long term. There is definitely going to be some mid-round conditional draft pick, as you said, Anthony, that would actually tilt the scales to make this approved, because having players under control is what this is all about. And also, this is a hockey trade too. You're right about that one, Phil. It's just there's going to be those little particulars that you're going to need to figure out who's going to be going to finish it off and go where. All right. Let's look at this. Is an interesting trade, I think. Let's look at this one to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mason Marchment to the Dallas Stars, Nick Robertson, that's Jason Robertson's brother, and a second-round pick in 2025. Anthony, who says no?
So the speculation is that Dallas would, for a little more insight, Dallas would prefer to keep Robertson, and that they might look to move a guy like Mason Marchment to give them some cap relief. Now, Marchment, guys, he's like 6'5", 215. He's a big boy. He skates well, and he's good for 20 goals and close to 50 points a season. So he's almost a unicorn in terms of his size, skating ability, and the fact that he could score. I think he's the type of player Toronto kind of really needs to change their makeup of their top six. So he's certainly available. $4.5 million, 1 year left, good value there. The return, I think I don't know. It's hard to judge because Nicholas Robertson isn't really a high-end prospect or such anymore. But at the same time, I don't know if Mason Marchment has the value of a first. So I think a mid-range prospect and an early pick, second-round pick, is somewhat pretty close to fair value. So I want to say this goes through as well. But I also think Dallas may try to squeeze a little more out of Marchment. So ultimately, I'll say Dallas says no, but I think it's close.
Phil?
I don't think this helps either team. I think both of these teams actually say no. I just Mason Marchment is a good player, but he's not a needle mover for what Toronto needs. Like, sure, the return isn't like terrible. I think Dallas could probably get a little more than this from Marchment because I'm not high on Nick Robertson anymore. I think his time has come and gone. I think he is what he is. I think he's really kind of like what in Major League Baseball terms you would call a triple-A player. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he's somebody that's too good for the minors, but not
or
good
quadruple A. I think is actually
quadruple. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But I just here get rid of that comment. But this is not enough. It's not enough for Marchment. And I just don't think like I get what you're trying to say, Anthony, where you come from, where Toronto needs to change the makeup of their team. Yeah. But if they're going to go and give up assets from the very bare cupboard that they have already, it's got to be for more of a needle mover than Mason Marchment. Like, to me, Matthew Nyes is honestly a smaller and better version of him. Like, sure, he's not as big, but he plays a bigger game. Like, I don't see. Yeah, this is it. Why do they want to go and spend $4.5 million of cap space when they need a legitimate top six guy? Because, like, look at this. It's Matthews, Nylander, and then what else in their top six if Marner and Tavares are both gone?
That's a good question.
What else? Where's the depth? So, if anything, why are they not only assets, but cap space? Why are they going to do that when they need a legitimate top six forward? Mason Marchment, while he he's more of a middle six guy than a top six guy, if you ask me. Like his numbers venture more towards the middle than an actual legitimate top six forward. If what you're hoping is that he comes into the right situation and plays with somebody like Matthews and his numbers go off, then what are you really trying to accomplish here then at that point? Because they need legitimate top six help, and Mason Marchment isn't that.
I was looking at this as more like the Sam Bennett consolation deal. Like if you lose out on Sam Bennett, you're going to pivot.
If you lose out on Sam Bennett, don't be stupid with your cap space and assets.
No, some teams do that. That's what they'll do. And like I said, I kind of like this deal. I think Dallas would say no. Just not seeing it with Nick Robertson, like we were saying before. But who knows? They might find a place to move Nick Robertson, and maybe that finally gets him to reach the potential that people think he could get. And the irony would be if he was traded to Dallas in this deal, and then they move on, trade his brother right away. That would be kind of awkward just for Thanksgiving dinner. Never mind talking to the GM about that. All right, let's look at this one. To the Philadelphia Flyers, Marco Rossi, and going back to Minnesota, Bobby Brink, Oliver Bonk, and Edmonton's 2025 first-round pick. Bilk, who says no to this one?
Wow. On the surface, it looks like a lot for Marco Rossi, if you ask me. Brink had 41 points this year in 79 games in his first season of 70 plus games. So an actual full season. He played 57 last year. I think it might be a little too much for Rossi. I think if you went Brink and maybe a second or a prospect lesser than Bonk, maybe Philadelphia would be inclined to do it. I get why Minnesota's trying to shoot high with Rossi, but I just think that's a little too much for him. So I'm going to say Philadelphia says no to this.
Anthony?
I struggle with this one because Marco Rossi is 23 years old, and he just had 60 points. I think he's starting to come into his own, and he plays a premium position, which is center ice. On the flip side, Philly is still a rebuilding team, and obviously Bobby Brink was a contributor there with, as Phil said, 40-something points. Oliver Bonk was a former first-round pick. Looks to be, he could be a solid defenseman. But you also remember the Edmonton first is going to be late, and the bottom half of this draft isn't very deep. So that first isn't maybe as valuable as some other years. With that said, I read an article from Russo talking about Minnesota, and he said they're in a tough spot because, that they think they have to move Rossi, but the center market is very thin, and they lost out on Nelson. And if they move Rossi, there's not many other pieces there. So if they make a trade for Rossi, they may try to use some of these pieces they get in return to then acquire a guy that could fill their second line center position. So I think they're going to want to get decent assets back for Rossi. But ultimately, I think Philly says no just because I think they want to take a next step. But I think Briere wants to keep seeing the path here and not try to jump the gun here too soon. But with that said, I do think it's close. It's not far off.
Yeah, I got to kind of agree with you a little bit on that one, Anthony, because I'm looking at this trade. I'm just thinking to myself, it's Rossi's such a young player, and that they are rebuilding, but they can grow with him. Hell, you saw the Rangers do this with Artemi Panarin. He was 28 when he signed that contract, or 27 maybe. The Senators sort of did this with Claude Giroux, but he was a bit longer in the tooth. So, but this is a trade that I like the trade. I just don't know if Philly wants to give up that much to go get him. But like you said, the center market's thin. So that's why I was still surprised that Brock Nelson signed as early as he did. But he did. And now, as Ranger Central saying right here, I also don't think the best investment for Philly. I think they need a player better than Rossi.
I think Rossi is getting a little underrated here. Yeah. I do think he's a very good player. I think this is a guy that could be an 80-plus point player one day. Mm-hmm. I just think it's too much right now, especially for a guy that wants out. Then again, he could end up being the best player in this deal by like a landslide. Mm-hmm. I'm not overly high on Oliver Bonk, but I do think that he'll be a good NHLer. I just think that there's not enough of a difference between Rossi and Brink to justify the rest of that package going the other way.
And it's escaped me for a minute, but Oliver Bonk is Radek's son, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. It's like I wanted to make that claim and make a joke on it, and then it's like, don't do it. Don't do it.
I was gonna say if you made the Bonk the video game character reference, yeah.
Yeah, and actually I did have Bonk's Adventure and I did complete it too. So,
no, it's our Just Says No segment.
This is our Who Says No, Steve.
Yeah, no, this is not a confirmed deal.
Yeah. All right, the last one we got going to you, Mr. LaRocco. To the Ottawa Senators, Jason Robertson, and going to Dallas, Drake Batherson, Ridley Gregg, and the first-round pick this year for the Senators.
That's the type of reaction I want because I know he's going to struggle with it. That's the
Who says no?
You want it Dallas Ottawa says no right off the bat. That's way too much going for Robertson. Two roster players and a first-round pick for Robertson, especially when one of them is a consistent 60-point player in Batherson. I don't. Even if you want to say that Robertson is a 100-point player, which that might be the outlier at this point, I definitely don't think there's the difference between Robertson and Batherson is a roster player and a first-round pick. No. You want to tell me, okay, Batherson, Maverick Bork? No, not Maverick Bork. Like a Maverick Bork type player? Like that type of prospect? I don't think Robo is mid. Yeah. I think that's...
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, that's lunacy right there, but...
he's a disappointing point-per-game player.
Yeah, it's only disappointing because he had that one crazy 100-point season. Otherwise, we'd probably be looking at this guy and saying, "Oh wow, this guy's a great asset." People think that his career year is the norm and not the exception. It looks more like the exception right now. I don't know if he's a franchise player at this point either. Like everybody's going to say franchise player, but you're pointing to what, a 100-point season that's sandwiched around a bunch of other point-per-game seasons? I mean, listen, not a bad player at all, and would love to have him, but I don't know if he's a 100-point player going forward.
Anthony, so who do you think says no to this one?
So I think Ottawa still says no, but I think it's closer than people expect. Jason Robertson's 25 years old. He's 2 40-goal seasons. He's going to score more goals than Drake Batherson. I mean, Batherson is a good player. He's a 60-point player, but Jason Robertson, I think, is going to score more goals for him. Ridley Gregg, again, solid. I think he's going to be a good third-line player, but do you say no to Jason Robertson just because of the inclusion of another guy like Ridley Gregg? I don't know how you make up the value in this deal because I do think it's close because if you take out Gregg, then I think it's too little. Jason Robertson, I think, is 2 tiers higher of a player than Drake Batherson is. So it's you need something else in there from Ottawa. Because Jason Robertson, again, he's 25 and he scored 40 goals 2 times. He's a really good player. And I think the gap between Robertson and Batherson isn't, like I said, I think he's a tier or 2 above him in terms of the skill level there. So Ottawa likely still says no, but I think for Ottawa to take the next step, I think Jason Robertson is the type of player they need.
if you were to tell me that you were removing Greg and you were either putting in someone like Yakimchuk might be a bit much, but maybe Carter Yakimchuk or Blake Montgomery or someone like that, then okay, like, all right, I can understand that. But the two roster players, and I understand that Greg is not, he's not a top six forward. He's a middle six guy. His numbers look more like bottom six, but he's a developing young middle six forward that's on a good contract for the next few years. So that's a bit much for me. Yeah, he's a very good player, but I don't think he's a franchise player to me. Like, I'm not building my franchise around Jason Robertson.
What would you say Jason Robertson is the best player in this trade?
What?
Jason Robertson is the best player in this trade, without a doubt.
Oh, of course. No, I'm not saying otherwise. I don't agree that he's a franchise player. And I think that he's being valued as a 100-point player when he's not really a 100-point player. Is Hakan Lube a 100-point player? No. Hakan Lube was not a 100-point player. He's a guy that had 150-goal, 100-point season. That's like Brady Anderson. Was Brady Anderson a 50-home run guy? In 96 he was, but he wasn't otherwise.
And Matt, welcome to the show. Because I was actually going to say Mr. Empty Netter Ridley Gregg. But
I mean, everybody would love to have a Ridley Gregg on their team.
Yes,
and
a lot of people love to have a Ridley Gregg.
It's not Ridley like the Metroid character. It's Ridly, Mark.
Oh, that was Anthony spelling. So
that's Well, Anthony,
yes, I did that. Then. That was me.
Yeah.
Although, by the way, that would also be Ridley Scott as well. But I do think that I do think Ottawa's the one that says no here. That's a little bit high of a price tag. Even looking at that first is, what is it, 17 they're drafted at? That's a bit of a tall order. So I would say Ottawa's the one that would say no. Well, guys, that's the end of Big Apple Hockey's Who Says No? And we're going to go around the NHL right now with our NHL Bar Talk.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
Let me say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. You're so confident that you're buying around, so I'll have a beer. Oh my God, I need a shot right now. Play along down in the comments below, everybody. And of course, if you feel like suggesting a topic, go ahead. We might use one for you know what? Hoping no layups today. We were layup free last week, although layups by design can happen. But as multiple reports all over the place have the New York Rangers targeting Sabres forward JJ Peterka. Phil, I'll start with you. JJ Peterka will be a New York Ranger on opening night 2025.
Wow. Okay.
The will word there for me is what's.
Well, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I think this.
Oh, I mean that's what makes it tough. I mean, he put the word will, and I like that because it's not a layup.
Yeah,
this right here. Yeah, no,
I'm gonna go round.
That one. Yeah,
I'm gonna go round. A beer layup.
All right, bold.
Are you going round? But why, Phil?
I just think there's a lot of smoke. He was almost dealt there. Yeah. I'm gonna go round. I think it was almost a deal to get it done, and they were that close to it. No matter what beat writer says, whatever. I know that there's some Ranger beats. They're gonna say, "Oh, they weren't talking." I think it was Staples said they weren't talking. Yeah. That definitely not the case. There's too much smoke. Everyone else is saying that they were talking, including Larry Brooks. So I think it ends up happening.
Anthony, who do you think? Is it going to be a New York Ranger opening night?
I was gonna say beer, but I think I'm gonna hop aboard the round and do a little bit of a hot take. I'm gonna say that Peterka will be a Ranger on opening night. I mean, look, there's other teams certainly that are going to be in on him. But as Phil referenced at the deadline, I think it was Sarah Volley was saying that the Rangers and Sabres were certainly having discussions, and that's when Staples said, I didn't hear anything about it, kind of like dispelled it. But I think they're certainly interested. I think they have the pieces there to make a deal. So, what the hell? I'm sure now that I say round, it's not going to happen, but I say round.
Well, also, everybody, look for Anthony's free agent predictions on Instagram and TikTok. They're going to be coming
We're going to talk about Tampa in a little bit. So,
there's going to be some talk with Tampa.
Yeah.
And guys, let's make it a hat trick, because I think Chris Drury is going to stake his reputation, what's left of it, hell or high water. He wants JJ Peterka. He's not going to rest until he gets him there. And it just makes too much sense to try to throw Bowen Byram in that, like we did with the Who Says No segment, because it's just a change of scenery for Lafreniere and Keandre Miller, who both scored their first NHL goals in Buffalo. But this makes too much sense to just take these guys, flip them, and let's see where they go. And Kevin Adams, you just got to wonder what the hell's going on in Buffalo, that it just seems like he's just losing everything that he's built. But we'll talk more about him in a couple minutes. The New York Islander that's generating lots of interest right now is JG Pageau. His multiple teams inquiring about him. JG Pageau will fetch a better return at the trade deadline than right now, Anthony.
I'm actually going to say shot. And it's because at the trade deadline, the Islanders are limiting to themselves, obviously, teams that are playoff bound, right? They move them. Mark struggled with that. I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Whereas if they trade him now, you have really all the teams involved. You have teams that just have a lot of cap space. You have teams who think they're a playoff team and value him as a third line center and want him for a full season. So you definitely have much more suitors of teams trading him now, whereas opposed to trade him at the trade deadline. So for that, I don't think that'll be the case. I think more teams will be involved, and naturally maybe that increases the value and the return they get for him. I'm going to say shot. I think if Darsh wants to trade him now when you have more of a pick of teams to deal him to.
Phil, what do you think? Now's the time to trade Pageau?
This could go both ways. I'm going to say beer. Dealing for a player with a full year of term as opposed to a few months, in a vacuum, you're going to get more that way. But third line and depth centers and guys that could play in checking roles like Pageau and the way that he plays, come playoff time, those pieces are highly regarded. I mean, look at what Tampa Bay gave up to get Gord and Bjorkstrand. Like, they gave up 2 first-round picks in that deal. And that, like I said, it could go either way. The one thing you got to worry about with Pageau is, because of his style of play, is his health.
Mm-hmm.
I like this as a return. Like, I think a second-round pick and like a B to a C level prospect is kind of like the baseline of what you've seen dealt for most like middle six centers or third line centers come playoff time. Sometimes they do end up getting a first round pick in return. So it's not out of the blue, but I mean, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the first round pick, or would you rather have the second round pick and a B-level prospect? It depends on the draft. It depends on the team. It depends on the prospect going. So I don't think that, it's necessarily out of the realm of possibility that that Pajot could fetch a better return at the deadline, I think it's kind of a wait and see approach because every deadline, every market is different from the next.
Mhm.
Like Taylor Hall got traded for Adam Larson. Did that become the norm? No, that didn't. I mean, Anthony, you remember this because I was at your house when this happened. But remember when Paul Gostad got a first round pick
Yes,
in
I
that
do.
mega deal
Oh my
at the
God.
2012 deadline?
Yeah.
Me and Anthony were watching the NHL
Yeah.
the NHL Network feed together at his place, and we lost our shit because we couldn't believe that Paul Gostad was the center of a deal that involved a first round pick going the other way.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes crazy things like that. Remember, one dumb GM is all that it takes.
Yes.
Or one GM if we want to be PC and not insult anybody.
And while we're insulting the intelligently challenged, is that what we're going to call them now? No, this is I think this is a beer. And the reason why this is a beer is because there could be a number of factors that could drive his value up. That third line and bottom six forwards, depth guys, they're the most coveted ones. And Pajot is a guy that drives top centers crazy. Like, just see the series against Sidney Crosby in 2021 that he was just going nuts, just going up against Pajot. But the thing else, I understand what Anthony's saying. You got more teams in play right now. Maybe he goes to, say, a team that's out of the playoffs that wants to knock their way in, that could change things around. But I also think if it's at the deadline, then you get contenders that are bidding for him. And then you get situations like Colorado, who wants to not only improve their team, but keep Brock Nelson away from the Winnipeg Jets. So they up the ante. Although now we also know Brock Nelson said no to the Winnipeg Jets as well. But you get situations like that where a team's going to go, oh, no, we'll take him. We'll give you this prospect. And it's a prospect you didn't even think of that was even available. And that stuff like that can happen. So if strange things can happen, but that's why it's only a beer. It's not around. Because also, what if Pajot's not healthy? That's the big thing, especially the way he plays. But guys, one thing we do know that the fourth pick is available by Utah. And we're also hearing some rumors out there that Chicago might have the third pick in play. Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting. But let's focus on Utah trying to make the playoffs for the first time since, I think it's 2012 when they were the Phoenix Coyotes. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm not subscribing to that. They're a brand new franchise. It's the stupidest thing the NHL ever did. Anyway, Utah will land a quality NHL player trading away the fourth overall pick, Phil.
Oh, man. The word has been out there for quite some time that they're looking to get immediate help for that pick. But who is available? Is it Robertson? Do they go and get I mean, if you're going to tell me that they're going to go trade that pick for Jason Robertson, okay. I don't know if this is going to happen. That's the thing. And I mean, does Dallas want to trade Robertson to Utah and deal with him X amount of times per year and deal with him in the playoffs, trying to get to the Stanley Cup Finals? Like, I don't know. And so I'm going to go beer here just because I'm basing this on this, whether or not this happens or not. So, because there's two different ways you could go with this. You could be asking, if they trade the pick, will they get a quality NHL player? Which that would be a layup. Or the other, way you could look at it is how, will this actually happen? And that's why I'm saying beer, because I don't know if they actually end up doing it. Could they? Let's just put it this way. Anthony and I, like I've stated this previously, we were at the 2018 NHL draft, And Anthony, you were right at the edge of where the draft tables were on that divider, and you heard that conversation about the Islanders getting Skinner with the Flyers organization talking about it. And that ended up not happening because Dobson and Wallstrom both ended up falling, and I guess Lamoriello did not have those two at those spots.
Yeah.
So he quashed that. I'm telling you right now, if Porter Martone is available at 4, Utah is not passing him up. He fits everything that they need. They want a scoring winger with size and playmaking ability and great hockey sense. Porter Martone clicks every box that they are looking for right now. So if Porter Martone's available, I would bet my life savings that they take him.
All right. Anthony, do you think Utah gets a quality NHL player trading away the 4th overall pick?
Awesome. I think we all agree. We all love to see wheeling and dealing. It's one of the best parts of covering the game.
Yes, and a matter of fact, being in the audience last year for the NHL draft while you were on the floor and just looking up and seeing there's a trade announced, everybody stopped.
Well, yes, I remember when they announced that Sergachev trade, everyone was just silent. Everyone was like, what? And at that time, everyone was like, oh, Stamkos is going back to Tampa. And then we found out later it wasn't related. But, every year you talk about, a team's going to trade a top pick for an established player, and it doesn't really happen. And, maybe I'm kind of doing a little reverse psychology here and hoping that it does. So I'm going to say shot. It's talked about so much, and come draft, you never even see it. I think last year I don't think there was any first round picks traded last year traded away. I don't think anybody traded a first. So yeah, I'm going to say shot. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's a lot of wheeling and dealing, but at the end of the day, they talk about it, but I don't know. I don't see Utah. I don't see Utah doing it, especially if a guy like Porter Martone is available. And also too, the combine, aside from the Islanders, Utah was a team that took out James. Not only did they just talk to him, but Utah took James Higgins out to dinner. So I think they certainly have Higgins on their radar as well. So yeah, I don't know. I would be shocked. So I'm going to stick with shot.
All right. And there it is right there. I'm going to just leave that up. And I'm going to go beer on this one, guys. I just don't know who they're trading, where they're going with this one. And I kind of agree with you, Phil. It's sort of like maybe they go after Porter Martone, but also maybe somebody else just wows them, jumps on up and goes and gets them. Because Utah doesn't need futures. Utah is stacked. I actually missed what that comment was. What was it, guys?
Anthony's saying he's targeting Frondell, but from what I hear right now, I think it's going to go Schaefer, Misa, and Chicago's going to take Frondell at 3. I don't think he's. I
don't know. I really don't know. I mean, Frondell is somebody that's gone up and down the rankings. Brady Martin's been a guy that's been shooting up. He's been a riser. Martone, I honestly think Martone, for me, I'll say this. If it wasn't for the back injury, I think Roger McQueen would be going top 5. Probably. I really do. I think he's that talented. I think there might be some concerns about the fact that he plays a little too much hero hockey and some of his decision-making is questionable, but I just think the talent level's through the roof for a guy that's 6'5" and can move pretty well for that size.
Well, we're going to have our draft crash course next week when we do our weekly show, because we got a ton of draft coverage coming on, everybody. Make sure you stay in touch with that. The Sabres, their last playoff appearance, guys, 2011. By the way, also with the New York Jets as the longest playoff droughts in professional sports. And the Red Wings, after having one of the longest playoff streaks in professional sports, their last playoff appearance is 2016. Anthony, Steve Yzerman is under more pressure this offseason than Kevin Adams.
It's a tough one, Mark. I got to get, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I'm not going to give it to you. I made this, so I take that back. But
I got better pick'ems.
I struggle with this because, yeah, Yzerman obviously had all the success in Tampa. When he left, he was viewed as one of the up-and-coming or even kind of top-tier general managers in the league. And he's been in Detroit now for quite some time, a team has missed the playoffs, I think. I think the last time they made it, well, you just flashed it, yeah.
2016, yeah.
On the flip side, the Sabres have been abysmal for a long time. I mean, they just can't do anything right. I mean, Kevin Adams this year is talking about, oh, well, we don't have palm trees, like in reference, like they can't get players, like so. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm going between beer and shot here, just because I think the Sabres desperately finally need to take that next step. I mean, for the last 3 years, we've been talking about Montreal, Detroit, Buffalo, Ottawa. Those 4 teams. Like, when is one of them going to start to take the next step? And you saw it, Montreal. They made the playoffs. Obviously, Ottawa made the playoffs. And these 2 teams are kind of still just flat, with Buffalo, I guess if you want to call it worse, but I'm gonna go beer. I think Kevin Adams in Buffalo, they need to do something to give their fans hope again, and some faith that they're going to finally start to become a competitive team again. Because every year they do good in the beginning. It's like, oh, the Sabres are finally taking the next step, and then they'll just lose like 10 in a row. And it's like, well, so much for that. So, yeah, I mean, I think both these general managers are under a lot of fire, but I think Kevin Adams is the guy that, he really needs to bring the state. Because at least the Red Wings have come close. Two years ago, they lost them. They missed the playoffs on the last day of the season. And then this year, still close.
And by the way, if not John Tortorella, not knowing what was going on.
Well, that was 2 years. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. This year wasn't as heartbreaking as that, but they still were close. So at least they made a little headway. Sabres have really made none. So for me, it's Kevin Adams.
This is actually a really good question. If Adams decides to gut the team again, does that restart the clock? I don't know. To me, the thing is that the Bagulas seem to love him for whatever reason. I don't know why. They do. So I'm going to say that this is a round, because Yzerman, he came to Detroit with a reputation from what he did with Tampa. And yes, Brisebois was the GM when they won those 2 Stanley Cups, but make no mistake about it, Yzerman put a lot of that together. And then Brian Lawton before him, because a lot of the guys that were not Yzerman draft picks, like Stamkos, Hedman, and so on, they were there before Yzerman. But Yzerman brought in the guys like Palat, Kucherov, Point, and so on. Those are all his guys. He took Drouin and then flipped him for Sergachev and basically put together the core of those 2 cup-winning teams. Mm-hmm. And Brisebois got the name on the cup. So Yzerman, they talked about the Yzer plan. That nickname comes up a lot in hockey conversations, especially related to the Detroit Red Wings. So I think that tells you the level of expectation that's on Yzerman as opposed to the level of expectation that's on Kevin Adams, where you can see my hand slowly going out of the screen because the bar is in hell in Buffalo right now. And I don't think Kevin Adams is on any type of hot seat right now, although he should be.
And Phil, I think the Buffalo Sabres the Buffalo Sabres fans are sort of like that guy that screams at the assemblies on The Simpsons is like, quit stalling, what's the plan? But that's the thing. It just seems like the Buffalo Sabres are a rudderless ship. I have no idea how the Pagula is still leaving him in charge. You're talking about a guy that's actually halfway, because he already started by dealing Dylan Cousins, but he's already starting his own rebuild. Like, he's already giving up.
He's retooling it, basically. The problem is now that Kevin Adams has run into a situation where there's public outcry from the players that they don't want to be there anymore. Peterka doesn't want to be there. Supposedly Owen Power doesn't want to be there. I mean, there are others. When does it – the question I have is when does it become Tage Thompson? Because if that's the case, scrap it all, burn it down, tear out the goddamn foundation, because you're going to have to completely start over. And then does Kevin Adams finally get the boot then? Because,
no, I think that's the answer, Phil. I think if Tage Thompson wanted out, and never mind that, Rasmus Dahlin, he's already said that he's frustrated.
But there's rumblings that he's not happy.
Right. So you know what? Why are you holding on to Kevin Adams? He is not. I mean, he's not the be all end all. This is like,
but the issue is that these guys are not just happy with the front office. They're not happy with the direction of the team. So it's not just that the management is not in their favor or is incompetent or whatever they're thinking. It's that they're just not winning. And no matter what they do, they're not winning. So the issue I have with all this is that it's on those guys to start playing well from October to February, because they're out of it by February every year. And then from February on, they're lights out and they're playing like 600 hockey. Where was that at the beginning of the year?
And you brought back Lindy Ruff, so you have a coach that's at least respected and a coach that you know that could win. They got talent. Like, what's the problem here?
Oh,
and
man, that's bad.
Matt says Kevin Adams makes Brody Van Wagenen look like a genius. At least he didn't say come and get us.
Sad but true by Metallica.
But my answer on that is, you know what? I'm actually going to go shot that Yzerman's under more pressure. I thought Yzerman would be under a ton of pressure, but as you guys have said to me before, there's still
110% right on that, David Wood.
Right. And there's just no direction with Buffalo. You have no idea what's going on. The one thing that they should have done, and that was a rumor early on in the year, was bring in Lou Lamoriello. I mean, it would have been a smart idea. At least you had a guy that knows, that could look at the team and go, all right, this is what we're going to do with them. I mean, it's just, it doesn't make any sense why Kevin Adams is still there. And I'm harping on it because I'm honestly trying to figure it out myself. And the frustration for Buffalo, by the way, the line about, we don't have palm trees, shut up. If your team's good, players flock to you. I've seen Buffalo spend on players. I have seen Buffalo when they won a President's Trophy in 2007. Actually, it was 2007 when they won the President's Trophy, and that they won a conference finals game. Until this year, it was more recent than the Carolina Hurricanes. But don't give me that Buffalo in a hockey market and they can't sell. Trust me, the people of Buffalo deserve a lot better, and especially deserve a lot better than a guy like Kevin Adams, who he's already gone through Jack Eichel and now Tage Thompson. What's next? And just disgust the guy. Sorry. All right. Look at this.
No, you're right. You don't need palm trees. You need a winning culture, and the Sabres are anything but that.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
That's why you need to gut that entire franchise from their front office down. And then then maybe the players will have respect for you. And again, look at the turnaround the Islanders had. Elliot Freeman is saying, my eyes are on Vegas when it comes to Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner will sign with the Vegas Golden Knights.
I got this very weird feeling that it could happen, and he could end up taking something like 12 million, like 12.25 to 12.5 million, and he ends up signing there just because it's another no state tax state, and property taxes are not that high there. So I get that feeling that it could happen, and this you can never count them out, just because they always find ways to get creative and make these types of things happen. I wonder if they would have to move somebody to do it in order to keep Eichel after next season, though, because Eichel after next season is gonna end up costing a lot. So I'll go. I'm gonna go beer, just because I think that it is very possible. I just can't say round right now. I would not rule out Utah and Anaheim. You know what, I'll tell you right now, one of those two teams just seems like a real good fit. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Ryan Smith wants to make moves, and he wants to make a big time splash. And that big time splash would be Mitch Marner. Tell you right now, you come out with a new name that you're branding. You have a great young core as it is. You can add an in-prime superstar like Marner to your team and boost up everybody there. That would be the move that Ryan Smith would want to make. So I'm not going to rule them out. And I honestly, Anaheim, I wouldn't rule out Anaheim either. He could fit there, and by the time that they're really ready to win, he could still be a very good player. Like both those teams, he still fits into their trajectories and their timelines. So yeah, I'm going to say beer just because I could see it happening. But yeah.
Anthony, Mitch Marner to the Golden Knights. What do you think?
It's a very real possibility. I think they'll move William Karlsson to make room, and they'll certainly sign Mitch Marner if that's what they want to do. I'm not worried about that. I can't go round just because, Silk said Anaheim's been mentioned. LA has been mentioned as a suitor, and they have the cap space to do it. Chicago, Utah to a lesser extent, but right now, my guess for Mitch Marner is either the Knights, the Kings, or the Ducks. Those are my three favorites for Marner. I don't see him going to Chicago. I think Utah is certainly going to make a play for him. I do. Ultimately, I don't think he'll pick Utah, but I think it will be one of those three teams out west. Two of them in California, the Ducks and the Kings. I think, and then the Knights. I think one of those three teams will land Mitch Marner. So I'm not going to say round to the Knights, but I do think he's going to head out west.
Guys, if there's a shiny new toy on the market, the Vegas Golden Knights, go and get them. I'm going around. And I understand there's going to be lots of people trying to be the suitors, but Vegas seems to always land the player. And I listed at the beginning of the year potential suitors for Igor Shesterkin. Well, in this case, yeah, Mitch Marner, he's definitely a guy that everybody's going to try to re-sign, including his own team potentially. But even though we've heard all the reports saying that he's not going to be returning to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the Vegas Golden Knights, if you're the shiny new toy on the market, Alex Pietrangelo, Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, they go and they get you. That's what they do. Tomas Hertl, they find a way. Vegas finds a way, if you will. Jeff Goldblum channeling. So
okay, Brad Bellflower.
Actually, the better Vegas finds a way. So anyway, but that's what Vegas will do. They'll go get him, and we're all going to be sitting here with egg on our face going, I can't believe Vegas got him. Or we had the rumor on the trade deadline that the last second Marchand was going to Vegas, not to Florida, and then it was corrected a couple minutes later.
Yeah.
Imagine if Vegas got him. Huh. All right. Frank Saravelli of Daily Faceoff is also saying, I can see the Tampa Bay Lightning being aggressive this offseason. Anthony, we're going to go right back to you. Tampa Bay will make a blockbuster move this offseason.
I mean, they don't have the space to sign a guy like Mitch Marner. I don't see that happening. And trade wise, I mean, Jason Robertson, I guess you consider that would be a blockbuster. They've been linked to Paterka, but I wouldn't say Paterka is a blockbuster either. So, I mean, I don't know what other type of huge move is out there that they can make that this would, result in me saying, round here. So I'll go shot just because I don't think they have a shot at Marner. And I don't necessarily think, again, them trading for Paterka is necessarily a blockbuster move. So, it's a shot for me.
Phil,
I'm torn between beer and shot. For the reasons Anthony mentioned before, they have cap issues, and that's like the biggest thing for me is how do they make that work? From what Saravalli was saying is that they kind of have to be aggressive, because they need to revamp that bottom six, and their defense on their bottom pairing is pretty bad. Like it's like Perbix is decent, but he's not really he's a UFA now, so I don't know if they're going to re-sign him. But I mean, outside of their top four, it's kind of barren there. Darren Radish, meh. Emil Lilleberg, meh. I mean, like that's your defensive depth as of right now. But they need to go make like something happen. Whether they move, Connor Sheary, or do they move Nick Paul, or do they? I know this would be crazy just because they just got him, but could you move Oliver Bjorkstrand, who has a 10-team no trade, and try to clear up that cap space to go after somebody who might be a little more of an impact player? Because I don't know if they're going to keep him beyond this season. Like, do you really want to give him a big raise? Like, he scored what? He scored 46 points this past year. His career high is 59. Career high 28 goals back in 2022. I don't know if I want to pay $6-7 million for someone like that. I mean, not a bad player, but they need depth. And honestly, I think they also need someone that can help them out in the top six a little more than Bjorkstrand. Because, I mean, you have Kucherov, Point, Gensel, Sorelli's become a legitimate top six center. And then Hagel has become a very, very good top six forward. But what is there after that scoring wise? And if Bjorkstrand is your sixth option, okay, but you're either going to need to have to move him and improve your depth, or you're going to need to add somebody that's a significant upgrade over him. So for me, I'm going to go shot just because I think that it's going to be tough to make a blockbuster move for them, but I do think that they're going to revamp that bottom six and that bottom defensive pairing.
Let's make it a hat trick, guys. They have right now cap wages listed them underneath $2 million of cap space. And if you guys want a 7th round pick, go to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have 4 of them. Goody. They only have 1 2nd round pick this year, 1 4th round pick from Edmonton, and that's if Edmonton wins the Stanley Cup. Then the pick changes there. They have their 5th round pick, and they don't have a 1st round pick in 26 and 27. I don't understand what capital they have to really make a blockbuster trade. And there's really not much. And Julian Breezeball said all the time, where a draft pick's going to get me. So I'm going to go shot. And I forgot if I put up the hat trick, but I'll do it again. Also, a reminder, hats right over here. Hats for bats. Anyway, guys, Steve Leamby, I am not enunciating well today. Steve Levy, during an interview, said that he could see Connor McDavid leaving if Edmonton loses this series. So, Phil, we've discussed this before. If Edmonton loses, Connor McDavid will be dealt this offseason.
Now, see, this is, again, we've talked about this, but this is something that Levy brought up, the idea of dealing him in the offseason. So,
My God.
you have the best player in the world. You have the best player of a generation. And if you have any idea that he is not going to re-sign after next season, do you go and deal him? And that's really where the premise of this, where this comes from. Because what's worse, being the GM that traded Connor McDavid away or being the GM that allowed him to walk and get nothing for him? So it's tough. I'm gonna say shot just because I don't think he gets dealt, but I definitely think you have to at least do your due diligence here and talk to him and say, hey, do you want to re-sign here? Because I think if he re-signs, I think he re-signs this offseason regardless. I don't think he gets to free agency just because I think Edmonton would just go over the top and offer him an absurd amount of money. And he would want to, like, if he wants to stay, he's going to want to stay, and Edmonton's going to make it happen. But I do think it's a conversation that they need to have.
Anthony, are they going to deal Connor McDavid?
I mean, for me, this is a shot. I think because, like, for instance, if the Oilers lose tonight, it's gonna be crushing for him. You saw how devastated he was last year. To have it happen again, it's gonna be brutal for all those guys in the room, and I feel for him. But just think about this. Let's say they lose tonight. Free agency July 1st is not that far away. It's gonna take him a while to just kind of like decompress, and kind of wind down, and then from there to make a decision that quickly. Okay, well, we lost again. I don't want to re-sign, and I would say there's next to no shot they're trading Connor McDavid in the first week of July. Like I don't think he's going to come to any sort of conclusion that fast. And also too, here's the thing about McDavid. Even if he was unsure about what he wanted to do, as Matt said here, they're still going to be in position to win next year. So the Oilers aren't just going to be like, all right, well, he's unsure, let's trade him in the offseason, because they could go back to the finals next year for the third year in a row, and they can win. And then, maybe that changes his mind. So I don't see any situation play out there where he would say where he's going to be traded. Unless, and again, this is a big if, the only way he would be traded this offseason is if, after they lose, he says shortly after, okay, I already know I'm not re-signing when my contract expires, and that's 100%. But that's kind of like fantasy there. So that's the only way I think they would trade him this offseason if that transpired, and I don't see that transpiring. I think he has too much respect for the organization. And again, even if he wasn't unsure, they respect him enough where they're not just going to trade him just because he wants to take his time. I think they would just let it play out and hope that they have a lot of success and he resigns. I know you could point to the cautionary tale of John Tavares, July 1st of 2017, when he was eligible for extension and he dragged his feet, he didn't sign. That's different. The Islanders were coming off, not even remotely
a terrible season. They were not good that season.
As the Oilers were. So it's good. It's apples to oranges if McDavid doesn't sign an extension right away on July 1st. So yeah, it's a shot. But man, would that rock the hockey world if it came out that he, that he wanted to be dealt or he wasn't going to resign. That would be something.
Yeah, that would be total chaos.
Anything except him resigning in Edmonton would shock the hockey world. The other problem is, how much is Edmonton going to pay him? Like, that's the price tag's got to be on that too. They got to have some internal discussions on that. I know they're a very highly valued franchise, but if you're paying Draisaitl 14. McDavid goes up. They'll say, let's be more reasonable. Let's say 15. I don't think he's going to take 14.5, but I almost said 16 to start, but we'll be a little bit more reasonable. Then you have Bouchard. How much are you going to pay him? Is he going to get 10? Is he going to get over 10? Because then you have 3 players that are almost going to take up $40 million of your cap. And you could say the cap's going up, but that's a couple hefty price tags. But back to McDavid, the thing I've always brought up, guys, is when he gets on that ice in Edmonton and looks up in the rafters, there aren't Stanley Cup losers in there. They're only the winners. And I think that's actually the motivation for him to stay. So I think if he loses, I think it's more of the motivation for him to stay with the Edmonton Oilers.
I don't know. That could go either way.
But that could go either way. You guys right about that one. I don't see the frustration going in. But then again, if you ask him, see, this is where Anthony's 100% right. He's going to need to decompress and really come. They're going to have to come up with this conversation in August. And remember, Wayne Gretzky was traded first week of August.
August 8th, 1988.
Yeah. So, sorry, second week of August. But it's something that's going to take time for them to figure out, especially if they lose tonight. Because McDavid isn't just going to go. He's going to be thinking, we're so close. I can run it back with these same guys again. Maybe they tinker this, tinker that.
August 9th, sorry.
Yeah. What? August 9th?
August 9th, yeah. I forgot. I have a friend whose birthday is on that same day. I should have remembered it.
Yeah, my dad's birthday is that day, so that's and my grandfather's at that. My maternal grandfather, so that's kind of funny. My father and his father-in-law had the same birthday. But back to McDavid one last time. I gotta go shot because look, even though I've said the words Wayne Gretzky can be traded, so can you. I'm also gonna say I can't believe Stan Bowman could say the words I traded Connor McDavid. That would just be wow.
No, I get that. I totally do. I just wonder how that conversation goes. And I mean, if anything, it would happen well into the offseason, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have trouble seeing. Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that dealt, Connor McDavid, but I also would not want to be the guy that let him walk and got nothing for him. Because if you had a strong feeling that was going to happen, that would be an issue. But then again, I mean, they're obviously pretty close to a cup because this is the second year in a row they've gotten there. So
and the team they lost to was a wagon.
I don't know.
And I can almost see Phil like he goes to the cabin, just says that he's fishing on a lake, and there's Stan Bowman just standing there in a suit, sort of like they're recruiting Jack Bauer back into CTU to be like, Connor, we need you again. He's like, oh, that life is behind me. It's just, you can almost see that type of scene pouring out. And maybe that's what gets, maybe then they'll be able to talk contract and get him to stay. But guys, if he goes to free agency, that is the biggest free agent in the history of sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mince words saying that.
No, yeah. I mean,
Alex Rodriguez.
Alex Rodriguez would probably be the closest thing to it when he signed with Texas.
Yeah.
And Alex Rodriguez wasn't considered like the far and away best player in baseball at that time.
No, he was the best shortstop in baseball, not the far and away the best player.
No.
So this guy, you're talking about an all-time great. And yeah.
His Sun Vegas, weird Sunbury summer. Oh, man.
All right, guys, that's the end of Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice to drink. And now it's time for Big Apple Hockey Pick'ems, where I'm going to give a couple choices. That's it. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. So let's start with this one, and let's stay with Connor McDavid for a little bit. Connor McDavid. All right. Better finals goal, that Connor McDavid dangle on Alexander Barkov and then the assist to Leon Draisaitl, or the one-man effort by Brad Marchand to score in Game 5? Anthony, let's start with you.
I mean, they were both beautiful goals. But I think I got to give it to McDavid just because just the optics of it, the way it looked. I mean, he's just so smooth and just poetry in motion. It was as pretty of a player you're going to see. Or Marchand turning Ekholm inside out and then kind of like squeaking it by Skinner. That was fantastic too, especially for a guy like Marchand, who's not nearly as skilled as McDavid to pull that move off and his size. Kudos to him, incredible individual effort, but I gotta give it to McDavid here.
Phil, which one is the better finals goal, McDavid's dangle or Marchand's one-man effort?
McDavid. It's I'm sorry, I don't think it's close either. No disrespect to Marchand, but what McDavid did to two different Selke finalists. He did it to Ekblad and then Barkov and made them both look foolish. He made them look like complete clowns. And then the pass to Draisaitl was perfect. But yeah, I'm sorry. That's just unbelievable what he did. I think Aaron Ekblad is probably going to have ankle surgery after this season, after this series ends, because McDavid absolutely obliterated his ankles. Same with Barkov.
Yeah, my answer is it's the McDavid one, so I'm going to choose that. But let me make a case for the Marchand goal and the Marchand goal. And I tend to go to Todd Marchand sometimes when I pronounce his name. Anyway,
Marchand and Marchand.
Marchand. Yeah, and this is just a reflex. So, but Anthony, you're kind of right about this, but let me go into the optics of the Marchand goal. He basically muscled his way to the puck off a face-off like you would in pickup hockey or in beer league, and just grabbed the puck, went on in, and then went bar down or off the post and in, I forget which one, and made that statement of, I'm getting a goal right here. You're going to like it. And Edmonton did not like it. But that dangle that McDavid pulled on the best defensive player in the league, although I still think that's an award that should really kind of be handed out a little bit more. It's not just one guy gets it and then he keeps getting it forever. All right. Bilk, who would be higher in the Conn Smythe voting? Brad Marchand or Leon Draisaitl?
Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl, as far as I know, last I checked, he was tied for the scoring lead in the playoffs, and he's got 4 overtime winners in this postseason, which is incredible. Like, this guy is slowly climbing up the ranks of all-time postseason goal scorers and players in general. So, yeah, I'm going with Draisaitl here. No, and again, not a slight at Marchand, who is having a hell of a postseason. I mean, the guy's playing like he's 27, not 37. He's playing like he's 10 years younger. So I got to go with Draisaitl here, though.
Anthony, who you got in this one?
Well, here's the thing. I know last year McDavid won it in the losing effort, but if the Panthers win tonight, Draisaitl's not going to win it. I think it's going to be probably Sam Bennett. So I don't know if Draisaitl is going to end up on a higher vote. Is going to end up higher on voting if the Panthers win the cup. Obviously, if the Oilers win the cup, I think Draisaitl is no contest. I think Draisaitl is winning it.
Yeah,
I just think if the Panthers win, it's not going to be a guy on a losing effort this time. I think it's going to be a Florida Panther. So for that reason alone, I'm going to say Marchand here.
I think Marchand's got a great case for the Conn Smythe, and
I don't think Marchand wins it though.
Right.
Because Bennett, if it's a Florida Panther,
Yeah.
and it's a winning player, it's Bennett, and
It's Bennett. Bennett's going to win it.
contest. I don't think one series is going to outdo what Bennett has done for 4 of them. So that's why I would say Draisaitl. I think the voting, if Florida wins, I think it goes Bennett. I think Draisaitl probably would go second, and then I think Marchand is third.
Yeah, that's fair.
So McDavid would drop all the way to 4th, you think?
I don't think McDavid has been as dominant as he was last year.
No.
He just and the numbers prove it too. I mean, they've done a really good job on him, and you got to give credit to Florida there. They have.
Yeah.
They've shut him down. But Sam Bennett has just been he's been otherworldly for them. I think this guy understands that, he understands when to play his type of hockey. And I think maybe he saved himself for the playoffs, which is kind of smart in a way, but you also have to make the playoffs to be that guy. So for him, you know what? Good for him, because he could turn this into a life-changing contract for him. So,
and I can almost hear Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando screaming, Bennett. Anyway, there's a great case to be made for both of them. I forgot if I answered, but I think you can make a great case. I got to go with Draisaitl with all those game-winning goals, those overtime winners. And Marchand also had an OT winner, possibly the goal that saved the Florida Panthers season in Game 3 versus the Maple Leafs. So let's go back to Connor McDavid right now. Connor McDavid's last 2 postseasons, do you look at them as all-time efforts or kind of much ado about nothing because you didn't win the cup, Anthony?
Real quick, just a little bit of news, but Arthur Staples says, today's my last day with The Athletic. Been a great few years. Thanks for following along. Isles, Rangers, and NHL fans. Looking forward to what's next. So Arthur Staples leaving The Athletic. So
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess Peter Bow is going to be the one real
Ranger guy, yeah.
Because Shayna does do a lot of Rangers stuff, but she's not the way that she was a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a bit of a shocker. I just wonder where Arthur Staples going.
Man, I don't know. I mean, there's really no other bigger outlet than The Athletic. So I don't know.
I mean, unless he was going to like TSN or something like that, but I don't think he's going to do that.
I don't see that. I don't see that as being a fit. And obviously, he used to be at Newsday. Now it's Andrew Gross. So that's not, So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see where Arthur lands. But good luck to him. He's been a friend of the show on a lot of our different platforms. Phil.
Yeah.
The show.
He was a guest on Off the Post. He was a guest on here.
Yeah.
No.
So, we'll see.
Anthony, you look at the last 2 postseasons for McDavid, all-time efforts or much ado about nothing?
I feel like there needs to be a middle, because last season's playoff he was absolutely heroic. Obviously, when the Conn Smythe losing effort. This year, still very good, but not nearly to what it was last year. So I don't think it's fair to, being that you're lumping both these postseasons into one, I don't think it's fair to say either one, really, because I can't say much ado about nothing, because last season he was phenomenal. So vice versa. So I don't know, honestly. I think it's kind of, this falls almost in the middle. Last year certainly was all-time efforts. This year, I wouldn't put it in that category. But that's a tough one. I can't pick either.
Okay. Phil, which one do you think?
It's got to be all-time efforts. What other player, maybe outside of Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux, could you think of that has lumped together 75 points over 2 postseasons in a row? I mean, Gretzky's done it twice. If you want to say 83 to 84, or actually, no, I'm sorry, 84 to 85. I mean, he had 82 points, which is probably the record in a 2 postseason span. And then 87 to 88, he had 77. So he's done it twice. Lemieux over a 91 and 92. He was unbelievable in those two runs. He had 78 points in those two. So yeah, I would have to say that it's all-time effort. Yeah, and this post from Matt here is like spot on. He puts up 42 points and breaks Wayne Gretzky's assist record for most assists in a postseason. And now he has only 33 this year, and people are like, whatever. When, aside from him and Draisaitl, I think McKinnon and maybe Kuznetsov are the only ones to have 30-point postseasons since 2009. And 2009, Crosby and Malkin both had 30 points apiece. So, 30-point postseasons are not overly common. And people are like, oh, yeah, Connor McDavid only has 33 points, only 33. What are we doing right now?
Yeah, and by the way, I that's why I am gonna say it's all-time efforts. When you look at the timing of some of his goals, he put the absolute coffin nail in the Dallas Stars when they were trying to tie that game 5, and then he just took the puck, rushed up ice, and just absolutely undressed Casey DeSmith. He was incredible in that series. I know, and again, he's only got 33 points. Yeah, still probably the best player on the ice, and he's doing it at both ends. So this isn't like Kucherov having a good playoff run, and you're like, oh, look at all the points he's putting up. McDavid's doing it on both ends. You want to say something like, oh, yeah, well, he didn't win a cup. This guy is trying to win a cup with everything he's got. He can't help it that they have never gotten the goaltending. And when they have, it's just not consistent. From game to game, you have no idea what they're going to get. Which, as a matter of fact, you almost don't even know who should be the starter tonight.
You want a crazy stat?
Yeah.
Connor McDavid over his last 4 postseasons in 74 games has 128 points. That 128 points would put him tied with Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci for 54th all time.
And that's just the last.
That's just on 4 postseasons alone. That's incredible.
If I had water in my mouth, I'd do a spit take. Right.
30 back-to-back 30 points, but not 75 points over 2 postseasons.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Well, let's look at this one. Phil, go back to you. The better Florida run. The Lightning 20-22 or the Panthers 23-25. This is regardless of how it ends, although it is looking like the Panthers might win the cup again. So go on and take every aspect of the story in there.
That's close. That's really, really close. I mean, it's so funny because the arcs really kind of run the same way when you think about it. Tampa Bay had that incredible 2019 season where they rattled off 62 wins. They tied Detroit's 96 record. And at the time, it was the NHL record that they had tied. And they looked like they were going to mow through everybody, and then they get upset in the first round. And then Florida, they run into Tampa Bay, and they cannot get the job done. They run into them, I think, 2 years in a row it was? But they run into them, and they just cannot get the job done. And then they make this massive trade, and they change their entire culture and makeup. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with Tampa just because I think Josh is right. I think Florida has to win this cup to be in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tampa ended up getting the job done twice and then got back to that third final. Florida hasn't done that yet. They could do it tonight. And then we could have this discussion tomorrow, and then you could say Florida and you'd be correct. But I'm going to have to go Tampa as of this very moment, just because this series is not over.
Anthony, which Florida run do you think is more impressive?
All right, so operating, let's say, under the assumption that Florida gets the job done tonight.
Thank you.
I think I would go Florida because in these two cup wins, they beat a really good Oilers team that went to 6 and last year 7 games. Whereas the Lightning, the 2 years they won the cup, they beat Montreal one year and then Dallas the other year. And both years, a lot of people said that the true final was that conference final against the Islanders, the Game 7 final. That was more of a series than when they played Dallas and Montreal. So I think the Panthers would have beaten a superior opponent, whereas the Lightning, I think their opponents weren't nearly as good as the Oilers, especially a year where they beat Montreal. So for that reason alone, I'll say Florida. If like I said, if they win tonight.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit biased because I like the plucky underdog story. So first, I'll start with Tampa. Tampa was the team that could not get over the hump. They were the best team ever in NHL history at that point. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets and went right down in the first round. One of the most shocking playoff upsets I've ever seen because they got swept. They didn't even win a game. So then they win that 5 overtime game in the first game of the bubble in the playoffs versus Columbus. And it seemed, and that was Braden Point, his coming out party, really. And he was always a good player, but he was great, I think, in the bubble. I have the right one. That's the first one. He had like 14 goals in that playoffs, right?
Point?
Yeah. Was it the first year or the second year he was really good?
I think it was the first year.
All right. Well, we'll double check that one in a minute. Because I think I might have just misremembered that one. But anyway, Tampa couldn't get over the hump, and then they got over the hump and they won 2 cups. Yeah, Anthony, I'm kind of with you on that. The teams that they played against weren't as great. Now, they did beat the Islanders, which were a really good team, and we're going to have a guest to talk about tomorrow when Cal Clutterbuck comes on the show. But you look at the Florida team that they won the President's Trophy. They got knocked out by their rivals. They turned around and went, guys, this isn't working. They then retooled their team. They were an 8 seed. They became the plucky underdog. They beat the then best team ever, almost the way Columbus did. But it took 7 games in overtime, obviously. And then marched their way to the finals, ran out of gas against a better Vegas team. Then the next year, they beat the President's Trophy winner again, and the Rangers win the cup against the best player on an absolute tear. And they're about to do this again, and they're a wagon. They are an effing wagon, guys. And I just love the way the Panthers have done this. They've rewritten everything. I'm taking nothing away from Tampa, even though I think I did when I said they played lesser opponents. But sometimes it's just how it is. And you look at this series is possibly the best matched teams maybe since New Jersey, Colorado. That's how far back I might go. So I love it. It's been great. Hopefully we get another game out of this, but if it ends tonight, it's definitely the Florida Panthers, in my opinion. All right. Anthony, quickly, we'll do these last 2. Better Russian NHLer, Sergei Fedorov or Nikita Kucherov?
You spelled Fedorov wrong. It's O-R-O-V, not E-R-O-V. Just throwing that out there. Put some respect on the great Fedorov's name. But I mean Fedorov is the much better all-around player in terms of the defensive work. I mean, that's not even a question. Point-wise, Kucherov's been one of the best players in the league for the last number of years. So it's tough. Offensively, it's certainly Kucherov defensively, it's better off if you combine that and say who's better just in general. I mean, I value someone that could be, because Fedorov was still really, really good offensively. So to be as good as he was offensively, but being dominating defensively, is really, really hard. So, I mean, call it hot take going off the board. Bias for the older times, but I'm gonna say Fedorov.
Phil?
Okay. What are we talking here? Are we talking like skill and impact on the game, or are we talking about total career numbers and hardware case and everything?
I would say personal preference, but you're giving me a parameter.
Personal preference? If it's personal preference, it's Fedorov. And I don't even have to think about that.
Yeah, because you said before we started that Fedorov doesn't have the awards case that Kucherov.
Fedorov doesn't have the trophy case. He doesn't. Fedorov also doesn't have a 100 assist season. However, Fedorov is the only player in NHL history to win the Selke Trophy while scoring 100 points in a season twice. Doug Gilmour's the only other one to do it once. Fedorov is the only player to score 50 goals and win the Selke Trophy in the same season. He did that in 94. He also won a Hart Trophy that year. So Fedorov's 94 season is one of the very best seasons the game has ever seen. Ever. And the craziest part about it is that Steve Yzerman missed about 30 games that year.
Yeah.
So Fedorov did that without the legendary Steve Yzerman with him for a big portion of that season and really carried that team. For me, if it's personal preference, Fedorov. Kucherov has the better resume, and the fact that he has a 100 assist season, which a handful of players have, I'm going to have to go Kucherov just because of the fact that the scoring consistency it has been there for such a long time. Fedorov from the beginning of his career up until about 1996 was a guy that you were going to count on for a point per game and Selke caliber play. And then the points started dropping, but I don't think that's much as it is his fault as it is the game and the way that it was being played at that time, plus Scotty Bowman's defensive influence. Because in 2003, Fedorov turned back the clock and had an 80 points. He had an 83-point season. And you were just like, wait, this Sergei Fedorov is back? Because if that's the Sergei Fedorov you were getting probably the most complete player in all of hockey. So it's tough because I could say on ice play, it's Fedorov because he could just take over a game by himself at both ends, and Nikita Kucherov ain't touching that. He just isn't. He just doesn't give you the defense. But Nikita Kucherov scoring, the longevity is there, the consistency is there. But again, he plays in a time where there's more free-flowing offense. He never had to play in the two-line pass era, which kind of prohibited Fedorov a little bit because Fedorov could have gotten God knows how many home run passes if it wasn't for the two-line pass. So this is a real tough one for me. I'm just going to say Kucherov based on the awards and everything. That's all I can say.
I'm actually going to go Fedorov no matter what. And Anthony's right. I should have made sure I spelled that right. I just I threw that one in there last minute, guys. But Fedorov, you're talking about a guy that was I watched the top 10 highlights of him the other night. He's just ridiculous.
He was unbelievable. He would be the best player in today's game. He would probably be the guy. If you think Barkov is the most complete player, Fedorov would come along and would make him look like a poor. Barkov would be the runner-up in the Selke every year to Fedorov.
Yeah,
because Fedorov not only had the speed to stay with somebody like McDavid, but he had the skill to strip him of the puck and then go the other way with it. That's how good Fedorov was.
And just Fedorov, he was just an absolute nightmare at both ends of the ice, and just he terrorized goaltenders. And I'm not sure if do we refer to the late 90s as the dead puck era.
Yeah, the late 90s is really when the dead puck era started, like 98, really.
Yeah, you put Nikita Kucherov in that era, I don't think he's putting up that offense. You put Fedorov in there, and like you said, he had the 83-point season in 2003. Give me Fedorov, and when you know what, while I'm at it, he's not even available on here. Give me Fedorov 2.0 and Pavel Datsyuk. I think Pavel
smartest
Datsyuk
player I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
just little things he did with just nobody else would ever think of to do.
Like one of them that I can't help but think about with Datsyuk, and we're going to move on right after this, is when that shootout move that he just went a quick little move the puck back and then roof it. But he does it at top. That's the thing about Datsyuk. Datsyuk did everything at top speed better than anyone. And then
when he made
Fedorov.
Mike Greer and Ryan Clough absolutely blow each other up trying to hit him. The best play I could think of is the play in the playoffs against San Jose, and they're on a power play. And Datsyuk is along the left side half wall. And he's sitting there, and the two forecheckers close in on him. So what does he do? He puts the puck against the boards, swats both of their sticks away, and he finds Henrik Zetterberg backdoor for a goal. Like, who the fuck else has the presence of mind to do that in that moment that quickly? Who else?
No.
I can't. Gretzky himself would probably tell you he wouldn't have even thought of that. Lemieux would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, no. Gretzky would probably throw a saucer pass across the ice to somebody that you weren't even thinking of.
Would have gotten rid of it sooner, but just the little shit that Datsyuk did that just absolutely just blows your mind.
And all right. So better rookie season, Connor Bedard or Macklin Celebrini, Phil?
This is a real easy one to say Bedard to, but watching Macklin Celebrini on a nightly basis, I'm going Celebrini. And this is a guy that just impacted the game at a much higher level overall than Bedard did. And that's nothing against Bedard, who was playing on a real bad team. But Celebrini, just 29 takeaways as a rookie is really, really good. And 63 points in 70 games on a really bad Sharks team. I mean, this guy was just the analytics on him are really good too. I just think he played better. I know everybody's going to point to the fact that Bedard won the Calder, but Bedard won it in a weaker field. So for me, I you know what? Any other year, I think Celebrini would have won the Calder. He would have won it. It's just he came across Lane Hudson tying Larry Murphy's rookie assist record and scoring almost 70 points as a rookie defenseman. So I just think this was a better rookie class than last year's. But no disrespect. I mean, Connor Bedard was really dealing with Brock Faber and Luke Hughes, and then Pyotr Kochetkov finished fourth in rookie in Calder voting. Like this past year, if you look at the field, I'm trying to.
Pyotr Kochetkov was still listed as a rookie?
Yeah, he finished fourth in the voting. I mean, Hudson. He had to deal with Hudson and and a lot of other guys. I just think this was a better rookie class.
Michkov finished fifth.
Michkov was another one who Michkov in almost any other year probably could have won it himself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at it and going, I think David also hit this one, being on the Montreal Canadiens, making the playoffs and being the play driver that he was to make the playoffs. Remember, he was third in defenseman scoring after the Four Nations break. But as Todd's saying right here, Celebrini was tough on the boards as soon as he came back from the back injury. He was – Celebrini looks the part of a number one overall franchise center that you pick. And It's just it's one of those things. Just looking at this, I gotta go with Celebrini on this. Bedard had his moments in his rookie season. Don't get me wrong. And then there were times where he was a rookie, which again is fine. You're growing.
They didn't
You can
have
s-
anything to help him out.
No, they did not. And
But also Celebrini had very little to help him out though too. So you can't really use that excuse there because Celebrini looked better at both ends. Oh, I would say he looked better defensively for sure. I mean, offense is close, but
I think one thing that kind of did help him, you look at the Bedard situation, Phil. They tried to surround him with some veterans that could insulate him, and there really wasn't much that's there talent-wise. You look at it now with San Jose, they had the young pieces in place. They had Will Smith that's there. You got some guys that you know that are going to be there, and I think that kind of lets you kind of settle into that locker room because I think with Bedard, maybe he's looking around going, this guy's going to be gone soon. Sure enough, one of them was Corey Perry that he probably looked around with in his first year.
oh god,
Yeah. All jokes aside, guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you're looking over this Nick Foligno. Is he going to be here or not? Is this just a stop for a veteran? I remember the story of when Keith Hernandez got traded to the Mets. He got a big hug from Dave Kingman that said, I'm so glad you're here because you're my ticket out of here. Like that, stuff like that can happen in locker rooms. And you get guys that are like, all right, I'm ready to get out of here. Yeah, again, all jokes aside on the Corey Perry situation.
Yeah, it does. Well, that whole thing has nothing to do with Bedard.
No.
I know who that has to do with. I'm not going to name any names, but it wasn't Bedard. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. That actually, yes, we know it wasn't Bedard. All right. Let's get some of your comments and your questions. Phil, do you have any that you starred throughout the show?
Yeah. Well, John.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was from last time, I think. That might have been. Yeah, I think that was from last time.
No, all right. Or I think you might have gotten again.
Yeah, Ball Panarin. I wanted to. Thank you for this, but Frank.
By the way, welcome to the show, Ball Panarin.
Yeah, he's a mutual of mine on Twitter, but yeah, I will say this. I think it's happening. I do think it's happening. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's Buffalo. I really wouldn't at this point.
I'm going to use a baseball analogy again. And there's that old story of Rick Peterson seeing video of Oliver Perez and saying, I could fix him in 10 minutes. Oh, no, sorry. It was Victor Zambrano is who he said that about. So a much worse situation. And then Victor Zambrano ended up, I think he blew out his arm and then ruined his career and was gone from the
That was
Mets.
a terrible trade for the Mets.
Yeah, well, because it was Scott Kazmir.
Yep.
In this particular case, you got the guys that are the gurus, Philk, and I do believe Sullivan is a defense guru. There's only so much somebody could be a defenseman whisperer until they got to go. And I think Keandre Miller's in that situation. You always hear that the toughest spot to ever to work on for any athlete is the spot between the ears. Keandre Miller, and again, by the way, another thing I've said, the worst decision is indecision. At least if you make a bad decision, you can recover. Keandre Miller I bring up the play against the Stars. It just epitomized everything that's wrong with him. He took the puck from Ryan Miller, went to the other side of the ice, promptly gave it away, and the Rangers ended up giving up a goal, tying the game. They lost in overtime. And that was a situation where the Rangers started to build momentum. So I think the Miller experiment is definitely over. And by the way, while we're at it, who drafted him? That's right. It was Jeff Gorton, along with Nils Lundqvist, who I thought was going to be something. Look, I could see it too. But everybody wants to make Jeff Gorton out to be a saint and Chris Drury's the devil. So there's sometimes when you're the GM, the problems don't pan out until long after you're gone. So
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been saying for a long time is that you cannot give this guy a long-term I've been saying that for well over a year, at least, that you cannot give him a long-term contract with the way that he's played. And I mean, Shayna Goldman in The Athletic did a very good breakdown on this. I retweeted the article and basically took the last lines of it.
yeah, I saw that.
But yeah, you're right. The toughest thing to fix is what's going on between the ears. And for me, like, I don't know if he ever gets it together. I just don't. And I don't think you can take the risk on that. Like, I think you know what you have. I think there's no more oh, well, he's only been playing defense for X amount of time. He's been playing defense for about a decade now. Like, if he can't figure it out at this level, he's not going to figure it out. Like, there's no, oh, well, he's going to be this and this. I don't think there's any future for him as a forward. I don't think this is a Brent Burns situation where he's drafted as a center and then ends up playing defense and becomes a good offensive defenseman. It's not just the physical, because he can be physical. Tom Poti just was not physical at all. Like, I think a lot of people are, and not just you, Christy, I think there are others that don't remember Poti well enough and think that he was physical at points. He wasn't. He was scared of physicality. He was just a big guy that could skate and move the puck well and had an okay shot. And he had one good offensive year that you could point to, was 2003 when he replaced Leach at the All-Star game. But Keandre Miller is a guy that can do that in spurts, but does not do that every night because he's not wired that way. And that's why I keep pointing back to this. It's all in his head. And I think if he does figure it out, no, Keandre Miller can be physical. He's not overly physical, but there are games where he gets physical and he could start ragdolling guys around. Like, he is Gordon Pibb from Dodgeball. You gotta get angry. You gotta hump it into submission. Like, that's Keandre Miller. Like, yeah, I know that's just not what you wanted. But yes, not physical enough. Fine. You want to say that? Fine. But he can be physical. We've seen it. But it's just, he doesn't have it in him to do it consistently. And that's the issue. Because his game is peaks and valleys. It's up and down, up and down. I could do the timeline for you if you want. I've done it on here before. But it just, maybe this is the case. Maybe, like Kreider, he's just not someone that, doesn't want to play that game for whatever reason. I don't know. But if he figures it out, it's not New York. I think we're past the point. I think we know that he can't figure it out here. And if you want to get rid of him and get something good for him now's the time to do it.
Yes.
If you don't do it now, you're going to risk doing what happened with Kakko. And you do not want that again, because that was gross mismanagement. No matter what they try to tell you with, oh, we got a top 4 defenseman out of it, and we signed him to a really nice deal. No, that's not it.
No.
Not it. You don't want that. So do it now. Make the hockey trade with Buffalo. Give these guys all a change of scenery and see if they can get it done elsewhere. Because Peterka can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, can Byram take the next step offensively? And I think he can. I mean, the problem is he wants to be on power play 1. Will the Rangers go 2 defensemen? Maybe.
Which doesn't happen anymore.
You don't see it.
The Florida Panthers use 2 defensemen. That's about it.
There are other teams, but it's very rare.
Yeah. Again, think of all the criticism we levied at Igor Shesterkin, who does have his problems. He's got his flaws. Now think of all those criticisms that we could be throwing at Keandre Miller. Should the Rangers re-sign him, let's say it was $60 or $6 million deal, $7 million deal. Oh my God. Like, and you see how mentally strong this entire team was, the entire team. And it's just, no, I think the Rangers, they kind of need to cut the cord on this one. They need to move on. And I wish him all the best in the next place he goes. But you can't invest long term in him. There's just no way you could do that.
No.
All right. What are the comments we got? First off, by the way, thank you, Matt. And how we doing, Chris?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Byram wasn't going to get the chances in Colorado, and Buffalo was a shit show.
See, I know where Dave is going with this. Jay Bomeister.
Jay Bomeister figured it out defensively. The only problem with Bomeister is that it came at the cost of his offense, because he was a 40-point defender in Florida. I mean, when I first started playing fantasy hockey, he was a guy that you could pip for 40 points and his plus minus was going to be good. But it just, yeah, I mean.
As James is asking right here, is there a spot for Jones on this team?
I'm not all that impressed with Zach Jones. There are games where he looks like, he understands the little things about moving the puck, but he just can't play defense in his own zone. I don't think there's a spot for him in the NHL. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have him play with a really solid defensive defenseman while acknowledging that he's not big enough to defend, that he's not smart enough in his own zone, and that when he gets pinned in his own zone, he's a liability. For me, again, another quadruple A player. He's too good for the AHL, but he's not good enough defensively to stay in the NHL because he doesn't give you the points. Like, the one thing he's decent at is puck transportation. And he's decent at it. He's not elite. He's not like an elite skater where he's going to skate through everybody and give you a bunch of points. Every now and then he can make a really nice play. Yeah, and maybe this is it. Maybe he goes to a team like Florida and he becomes a real good player. I don't know, but I don't see it with Jones.
Yeah, I actually think defensively he's not that great.
Well, nobody questions Spurgeon's ability to play defense because he can actually play defense.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And you got to pair him with somebody that could be the muscle if he needs to be.
Yeah, but you know what? That only works if you're good enough to actually play defense at this level. And that's the thing. Jones is not good enough at this level. Like he's not good in his own zone. Yeah, I highlighted this.
Yeah.
I don't think the day of the small defenseman is over. Like, look at who just won the Calder.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the video of Lane Hudson being surprised with the Calder Trophy? He's tiny. He's not big at all. Like, he's got to be smaller than me. So, and I'm not I'm an average sized dude. He's definitely smaller than me.
By the way, do you remember how like the Washington Capitals social media was going after him at the beginning of the year? Like they kind of made some posts like, oh yeah, look at Lane Hudson or something like that, or all this for nothing. And then you look at what happened at the end. Hudson definitely was one of those factors that got Montreal to the playoffs.
James, I'll say one thing here, James. I think with Matthew Schaefer, I think you're going to start to see more of a focus on bigger mobile defensemen again. I think that's going to be something. It's going to be a trend that's going to start up again, because I think that everybody's going to look at Matthew Schaefer and say, "Wow, look at the way that this guy skates." I mean, Jake Sanderson is another one who is like that size, put up like 50 points this year, and he's an incredible skater. The other guy that I would look out for in this draft that's a riser, and I think the ceiling is very, very high on him, is Jackson Smith, Tri-City American defenseman. Left-hand shot. I think he's going to go higher in the draft than everybody thinks because, yes, there are some smarts and some decision-making issues with him, but you can work those out. But for a 6'3", 6'4" guy that can skate like he can and give you the level of offense that he can, I think teams are going to take a flyer on him. So I think we're going to start to see more of those guys. Radim Merka, 6'6" and can skate very well for his size, not just for his size, but very well in general. So I know Steven always gets on me. Oh, you can't say Edstrom is just a very good skater for his size. He's a very good skater in general, and yes, he is. But Radim Merka is, man, for someone that's 6'6", he can friggin' move, man.
And when you see that, that really catches your eye when you're like, that guy's a good skater at that size. Not sure if I get this one, Dave. I'm sure Hudson doesn't mind climbing trees.
They're talking about his girlfriend being bigger than he is.
Oh, okay.
His girlfriend is apparently taller, so yeah, that's the climbing the tree or the mountain, as they say.
Mike, NYR for Life, by the way, hey, Mike, is saying, so is this season really going to be the off-season of offer sheets? I still think it's a practice that a GM hesitates on, because if you do it, you have to make sure you do it and you're successful, because you don't want to have egg on your face. We saw that years ago with Mark Messier leaving the New York Rangers, and then the Rangers targeted Joe Sakic, and Neil Smith was just saying, no, it'll never work. But yeah, I think it's something that all the pundits want. That's really what it comes down to. We all want it. Of course we all want it, because it's great. It's great to talk about. Right before we went on the air last year, we had to talk about the Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg sheets. So now this is an interesting one, because this.
Yeah, I would just highlight that one too.
Yeah.
Christie's
saying, do you think the Oilers will retaliate and offer Joe Hofer a massive offer sheet because of their goaltending is literally about the cost of the cup?
I just St. Louis, they have like 13 million in cap space right now. That's with Radek Faksa and Ryan Suter's UFAs. I don't think Hofer is going to cost them a ton. I think Torrey Krug is going to be LTIR. Retired. I think he's going to have to retire possibly. So that may end up helping them. There's been word that Jordan Kyrou's name is available. I mean, I don't see how I wouldn't want to move him if I'm St. Louis. He's 27. He's going into the third year of an 8-year deal at $8.125 million, and now he has a full no trade that only turns into a 15-team no trade on July 1st, 2030. So, I mean, if they want to move him, they're going to have to get him to waive. I personally don't see that, but they do have cap. So I don't think that I don't think there's any issue with them keeping Hofer unless I mean they offer him something that St. Louis is not going to match. Would St. Louis would St. Louis not match something in the $7 million range? But then again, is that worth it for Joel Hofer?
Yeah, the second part of that is we could talk about retaliation all we want. If you end up with the player, what are you going to do with him? You better damn well be sure that if you get him, you actually know what the plan is.
I mean, his numbers from the last 2 years are almost kind of like identical. About 30 games, 15, 16 wins, 265 and 264 goals against. The only difference is a 914 save percentage last year and a 904 this year. I mean, if you're convinced that he's worth $7 million, and that's what it takes to get St. Louis to not, because St. Louis at that point, if they match, then they're spending $14 million on goaltending, and I mean that's not good because that's going to chew up cap space, and one of those guys is going to have to take a backseat to the other. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'm not sure if it's Jordan Binnington yet.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to play well when the game is real, like when the lights get brighter.
Yeah.
But can Edmonton really afford to spend $7 million on a goaltender when they're going to have to replace Skinner, Perry, Brown, Kapanen, and Frederick? Those are all UFA forwards. And then not only that, but here's the biggest thing. Evan Bouchard is a restricted free agent. And that contract is probably going to eat up like a vast majority of that $12 million or almost $13 million in cap space. Ooh, this is big. This is big. Roman Josi is dealing with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Yeah, but it sounds like he's through it, Phil.
Condition abnormally characterized by an abnormally large increase in heart rate upon standing or sitting up. But over the last 8 weeks, he's undergone intensive therapy. He's been feeling better. I've regained the belief that he'll be 100% fit again and can fully attach with Nashville and the Swiss national team next winter. I mean, good for him. I wouldn't want to. Also saw that I don't know where you saw that. I didn't hear anything about that, Chris.
I didn't see anything about that. I heard that they might be putting him on LTIR to make room to go sign Mitch Marner.
Oh, there it is. Vegas exploiting that loophole and getting away with it again.
Yep.
If that is the case.
Now, it's an article from a Swiss
news site that Sarah Valley retweeted. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you hear about some things through those websites and interviews in their native lands where they're in the off season. So
yeah, like there was one for Capo Caco that was translated.
The Capo Caco one, the Vitaly Kravtsov one.
I gotta look at this one, which is because I know it was talked about. Mika Zibanejad to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why? Why would he go there? He has trouble playing in New York. He's going to go to Toronto.
I mean, it's a competitor, but I mean the article from Molly Walker kind of throws water on that fire. I mean, again, that a lot of what she did was she talked to Zibanejad's wife.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how those conversations go in the off season. I wonder if they've happened already. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
I think this is one of those filler conversations that they'll have, or that even that we'll have. We'll talk about it and go, well, how about this? And
Ranger. Yeah. We try not to be clickbait like that. We don't want to put like misleading headlines or anything like that on any of our streams or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to be that one. If we're going to talk about things, we're going to talk about things with actual reports, because you don't want to start. First up, by the way, it's a waste of time for both of us involved. It's a waste of time for us to put together that topic to talk about it. And it's a waste of time for you to watch it. Because then you start thinking, oh my goodness, is this really going to happen? Nope. No, it's not. But at least I completely wasted your time on that. I would rather talk about the what if going all the way back to imagine being in the parallel universe where Sidney Crosby was a New York Ranger and the Rangers won the lottery for that. That's actually more productive than trying to look back on saying, and that by the way, that would have been a question of how many Stanley Cups would Henrik Lundqvist have won, especially since he had to face Sidney Crosby. But who knows? I mean, the Rangers could have made him a third liner if it would happen today, and been like, "Yeah, you got to earn your ice time, Sidney."
Yeah,
I don't like being that fake news one. I just don't.
No, and I've come across their videos, and it's just it's sad, and like they seem like good guys, and I'm not trying to slam them, but like when you're when you're doing that, it's a waste of time, because what they're doing is they're clearly getting people to try to come on and watch their videos, and they're mincing the words that the people that they're getting this from are saying. And
the thoughts I have is almost from the line from The Hunt for Red October, where Sean Connery finally meets Alec Baldwin, and he's like, "Oh, what books did you write?" "Oh, I wrote this book about Admiral Halsey." "Oh, I read this book. Your conclusions were all wrong." And that's the way I kind of feel sometimes with these, because I watched some videos from I'll say them and some other Rangers sites, and they were confidently saying, "Oh, we'll tell you what their plans are for the playoffs," and I do mean playoffs. I'm sorry, I'm not going to mince words. I knew we both knew, me and Phil. We were banging this drum, and Anthony hit it first at the beginning of February, but quickly afterwards, we all went, "This team ain't making the playoffs." Prove this right. Prove this right. And I don't like overly getting into rumors, because if you do that, then there you have no reason to believe anything I say to begin with. So and I'd rather at least have the respect.
Yeah.
Hey, John, thank you again.
I like them because they are hopeful, especially after listening to Evan's doom and gloom, which I prefer. Sometimes you need the palate cleanser. Oh, I mean,
all right. Well, here's the thing. We're not as doom and gloom as Evan is. No offense.
All right. So I out of all three of us on the show, I think I relate closest to Evan and Matt. And give those guys some love, by the way. If you haven't
always give them love.
Yeah, like and subscribe to Rangers Central if you haven't already, if you want more Rangers content. But I listen, I get it. I understand it, because there are times where, I disagree with Evan on some of the things that he says. I think there are times where I think that he is a little too negative for my liking. But I will say this. I try to keep it as balanced as I can and shoot from the hip as much as possible. And I will tell you one thing, whether or not you agree with Evan's viewpoints or anything like that, he is 150% authentic in everything that he says. He's not doing it for clicks. He's not doing it to be the guy. I mean, he's not doing it to try to cause controversy or anything like that. That is how he thinks and what he is thinking. So that is 110% him authentically.
And by the way, both him and Matt, the same way with us, Phil. We don't just shoot from the hip and go, "This is what the Rangers are going to do." We bring our receipts, we show patterns, and we go, "This, statistically speaking, it goes in this direction." This changes everything. I mean, I've taken the YouTube courses, guys. I'm trying not to do that, but also I have to do that because I got to get people to click.
I don't like that. I don't want to be I don't want us to be the type of people that are. No, David, and I'm not saying you're all doom and gloom either.
No, we're not saying that.
are like two peas in a pod, though, where you're very much on point with each other. Where you guys are, I would say 99.9% of the time, you guys are on the same wavelength. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I mean.
And take for instance, last year after the Rangers won Game 3 in overtime, Evan and all three of you guys, Evan, Matt, and Phil called it. The Rangers can't win this series, sustaining that pressure. And at one point, I went, guys, can we at least celebrate that we're up 2 games? That the Rangers now that we're up, the Rangers are up 2-1, and they're like, well, you guys called it. They couldn't do that. All right, Tommy's saying, Phil, what is Kendra Miller's trade value right now?
I'm not sure of what his exact trade value is, but I wouldn't mind that trade before that was brought up. I think that he needs to be moved in a hockey deal, and I think Buffalo is literally the right spot for it. Whether or not he wants to play there is another story, but he's not going to really have a choice.
Nope.
Not. And that's it. You know what? If you show up to work consistently and you do your job, I'm just sorry, I'm laughing at comments in there. But I think that's what you want.
Yeah,
that's what you want. You want a hockey deal, and you want to move him for other young assets that are in that same age range that you think you could get something out of. And if he gets moved by himself, I still think they want to move him in a hockey deal.
I mean, there's always that they have to do it. There's going to be GMs that are going to line up and look at him and go, we can fix this guy. We can change him. We can make him better. We can get his potential. But it's different from when Gordy Clark looked at him years ago, where you went, all right, this guy's going to, did you hear Ray Whitney? Or sorry, not Ray Whitney. Do you hear Ryan Whitney calling him a stud anymore? He kept saying it in 2022. I haven't heard him say it in 3 years.
What, Keandre Miller?
Yeah, Keandre Miller.
I mean, Keandre Miller was great in the 2022 playoffs. Like, that was some of the best hockey he's ever played. But he
hasn't taken a step, Phil.
He's up and down. Like, the next season he comes back, first half of the year, he's trash. And then the second half of that season, he starts putting up all these points, and you're like, oh, great. And then in the playoffs, he's kind of just – yeah. And then, 2024, his first half of the year, he's really not all that great. And then the second half of the year comes along, and you know what? How much can you use the Jacob Trouba excuse with him? That's another
I think
thing.
Now you eliminate the Jacob Trouba excuse.
Well, yeah, now it's gone. Like, all right, so he's played a little better with Borgen. He's played better with Schneider. Okay. But if this guy is so great, then why does he need to be like, why is it that Borgen and Schneider are only marginally improving his play? And why is he still inconsistent? And why is he still making the same mistakes from year 1 in year 5?
But here's what's going to happen. He's going to go to another team. They're going to address it by not making him be the physical guy. They're going to be like, you don't have to do that. Do whatever you want. And James is asking right here, who wouldn't you trade on the New York Rangers? Right now, Will Cooley.
Will Cooley, Adam Fox. I still think Adam Fox can recover. Like, I still think he was recovering from that knee injury. Mm-hmm. And I think that he will be much better this upcoming season. I think if you get him just a competent defensive partner, I think he gets back to Norris level. I would keep him. Obviously I would have moved Igor Shesterkin, but that's another story. Mm-hmm. I would move just about anybody else outside of Will Cooley. I would move JT Miller if the right deal came along. I know they just got him, but if the right deal came along and they can upgrade there, I would absolutely move him.
Anthony asked right here if we addressed Mika's wife's comments. And by the way, my answer on that is, of course, they're going to tell him that they want him because there's nothing really they could do about him.
Yeah, I think it's a bad PR move to say otherwise.
Yeah.
Again, she's not the breadwinner in the house. She
Yeah.
might want something, but if they go to him and they say that they want him out, and the talks progress or develop. Listen, I'm not saying he's going to be moved. I'm not.
No.
I'm just saying that there still is a possibility. It looks like he might not be moved, but I wouldn't rule anything out as of right now.
Puck Rock, we used to have a segment called My Filkin Opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I just haven't had the.
Yeah, we haven't done editorials in a while. So
Yeah,
we used to have everybody at our time. I still have the graphics up there. You should see how different we all look.
Yeah, it's crazy,
especially
me.
Yeah. But
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
But again, it's a question of Mike saying Mika bought a DJ membership and a house. A gym membership and a house. Yeah, that players buy houses and get traded all the time. But I don't know.
Anarchy in the Filk. God save the Filk.
Anarchy in the UK is such a great song.
Negative cover is great of it too. That's probably my favorite cover of it.
Guys, we're gonna go for 3 more minutes because I got a lot of stuff I have to do for preparing for tomorrow. Like I said on this down below, we got Cal Clutterbuck that's going to be joining us.
And Anthony comes back right in like we had 3 minutes left.
Yeah, we got like 3 minutes left to do. All right, we'll do a quick game of Puck Doku. But first, I just want to say this, guys.
Clutter?
This is a great question, Anthony. We're gonna do a mock draft with them, I believe. Anthony, you're gonna be a part of that, right? The mock draft.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I planned on. I know the hockey. They asked me to go talk about
behind the benches. Yeah.
Behind the draft. I don't know what time that's gonna be at, but yeah, I plan on being with you guys.
So yeah, we're coming up on. So the draft is next Thursday. So
yeah, I'll say Monday. Let's try to get the mock.
We want to try to do Monday, but yeah.
Well, is he talking? Is that question specifically about draft night though? I assume no.
Yeah, we're gonna do We're gonna do mock draft, and then we're also gonna do live streams for the draft and free agency.
Yeah, and
we're covering everything, Anthony.
And mind you, Thomas Hickey's coming on draft day, but he's got to come on during the day. So that means we have to do a
double dip,
a daytime spot.
Yeah, we're going to do a double dip with Thomas Hickey, and we're probably going to talk mostly Islanders during that stream, I would imagine. But we'll talk Islanders, Matthew Schaefer, Michael Misa, and whoever could go in number one, or possibility of James Higgins and what they think of James Higgins. So that's going to be a good one. Yeah.
But we're also going to do, like we said, the mock draft where we're going to go over what our guys are going to be picking. I say our guys because I'm not going to be picking. You should see the work that Phil could put in with that. And Anthony going over with prospects. But draft night and free agency, that's always a fun time for us. Trade deadline, we had 4,000 people watching us in Ranger Central going to work. So let's just make sure that we're gonna be producing a very highly entertaining product in the next 2 weeks. So be ready for that. We got plenty of stuff that we want to do for the summer. Guys, I just want to take a second just to dedicate this episode to Trevor Huggard, a friend of mine who unfortunately passed away this week at 30 years old. And always proof that life is precious. Just take every single day. And Trevor, I hope you're listening to Creed right now. And that it really kicks in. So and then you're leading the sing along out there. But a friend of mine who left us way too early.
Yeah, very, very, very sorry for your loss, and I think we've all lost people that too early, but very, very sorry for your loss. My condolences to not only you, but his friends and family as well.
Yes.
And I will definitely crack open some Miller Lights and blast some Creed for him later.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I drink a White Claw for him later because it was like
you said
that.
Motorcycle too.
Yeah, it was a motorcycle accident.
That's just it's terrible.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
It's awful.
But he's great person, great spirit. Again, just guys, life is precious. Just
absolutely
to treat every day and tell everybody that you love them because you never know. And there's just a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'd fire up If Today Was Your Last Day by Nickelback.
Yeah. But he loved his Creed, and it really kind of. I was with him with some friends because I worked last night, and it really kind of hit last night when the Creed was really coming out. So, I mean, it's the one time I ever turned off Billy Joel in favor of Creed. So that's to tell you the occasion. But hope you listen to it, Trev. Guys, we're gonna do a quick couple games of Puck Doku. We'll go as fast as we can on this. Anthony, I'm gonna get that out of your face, and we're gonna go full screen on that one, right, Phil?
Yeah, go full screen, please.
Okay, we're gonna go full screen, everybody, and
because I'm seeing full. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right. So we have the Islanders.
Oh, I know who the top left one is going to be right away. Ooh, Anthony's laughing because he knows that I know who he's going.
I know who it is too.
Yeah.
All right. So the top line, you have the Islanders, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
There's two of them actually. Now that I think about
40 points in a season
that he can do there.
So 40 points in the season, Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders. The down
actually, hold on a second. The guy that I'm thinking of can actually fit that entire top row.
Yes, he can, because I'll ask the question in a second. But then you have the down line, the St. Louis Blues, 10 plus goals and 500 career games played. So Anthony, which line are we putting Jeff Norton in?
You could put Jeff Norton anywhere. I was thinking of one, Constant Crossman, Doug Crossman. Two, Adam Creighton actually fits both of those as well because Creighton was an Islander, a Blue, and
Anthony, you're muted. Anthony, you're muted.
I'm muted. Yeah. Phil and I are on the same page with Crossman. You said Norton, which actually you could use Norton for that first Blues Islanders and then use Crossman for Blues Lightning.
You could use.
Who do you have for the 40 points on the Blues?
There. Actually, I believe you can use Creighton. Hold on. So go Norton top left, Creighton middle, and then I would say Crossman in 40 points.
I would check Crossman. I know Crossman had a bunch of high point season with the Islanders. I don't know if he had it with the Blues though.
Does it have to be with the Blues? Hold on.
So, Mark, click X out of this.
Click X, yeah.
Okay.
And then click that one and see.
Yeah, see what it says.
Yeah, player must have played on the team the season that stat was recorded.
Yeah, no, so Crossman wouldn't fit there.
Yeah.
So should I have not used Jeff?
No, you can use
Crossman. No, you could use Crossman there though.
Blues Lightning.
No,
you're on.
No.
You're on 40-point season. Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Zero.
Still at zero. Okay.
Brian always comes in with great.
Which way you guys want to go, down or to the left?
I hope, Brian. I hope you heard the Miller Lights and Creed before, because that is definitely happening later. Which one are you going with, Mark?
Either one. Where do you guys want to go?
That doesn't matter. I mean, just pick one. We'll try to come up.
40 points in a season for Blues. You could probably put Tony McKegney.
Okay. There he is. Point
There you go.
3.
Yeah,
Nice.
there we go, baby. Yeah, Tony
Ten-
McKenzie is always a good one. 10 goals in a season for the Islanders.
I mean,
I'm tempted to go Sean Bates, but I think there's other guys.
No,
yeah,
I think Bates would be a little too popular. 10 goals for an Islander.
I mean,
Brad Delgarno.
Richard Park. I mean, Tom Curvers.
How popular would Yanni Niedema be on that list?
Probably, yeah. I mean, Ninema.
I'm pretty sure Yanni Niedema had 10 goals with the Islanders.
Checking it.
No, he didn't. Holy shit.
Nope.
Kenny Johnson.
Kenny
Yeah,
Johnson,
12 with Edmonton.
Kenny Johnson would be a little too popular. Dave Volek would be a little too popular, I think, because a lot of people remember him for that OT winner that knocked out Pittsburgh in '93.
By the way, Alexander Karpatsev really had a lot less goals than I thought.
Karpatsev wasn't a big goal scorer.
Yeah, with that shot, and he wasn't that good of a goal scorer.
Who?
Yeah. You know what? Karpatsev didn't have a great shot, but the one thing that I'll say about him is he was good at getting it on net, even through screens and shit. So,
By the way, I threw out Brad Delgarno, by the way.
Sergei Nemchinov.
Sergei Nemchinov would be an interesting one, but he played in New York for a while, so people might remember that he was an Islander.
I repeat, Brad Delgarno.
Yeah, you know what? Go Delgarno. I want to see
Yeah.
what Delgarno does here.
0.1%.
Wow, good one.
All right.
10
500
goals.
career games for the New York Islanders. Or
500
career.
games?
He had to play for the Islanders at one point in his career.
Hold on. Click on the square. See what the player
Must play one regular season game or postseason game.
Oh, okay. So it's just it's in general. It doesn't have to be 500 played for the Islanders. All right, good.
No.
You could get,
Won't he make 500?
you can get my other favorite, Daily Diddick, in there.
Yeah, you could get Gerald. Daily.
Yeah, let's just go Daily Diddick.
Let's go Diddick. He's too good of an answer to pass up every time.
0.1%.
There it is.
All right,
500
boys,
games
10 goals in the
played.
season for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
How about
10 goals for the Lightning.
500 games played? Basil
You can give me that.
McRae?
What?
Did Basil McRae actually Enrico Ciccone, I think. Hold on.
Which
No,
one do you want? 10 goals or
374
500 games?
I'm on either. Tell me which one to go with.
Go with 500 games.
Basil McRae did play 500 games.
Yeah, Basil McRae. He definitely played for the Lightning. I know that. So
I like Basil McRae.
yeah.
0.1%.
Yeah.
For those of you young ones out there, Basil McRae was in the Mighty
10
Ducks.
goals in a season for the Lightning. Try Rob Zombiner.
Rob Zombiner, that's a good one.
I'm sure he had 10 goals. I would think.
Yeah.
he did.
He definitely had 10 goals.
Yeah.
0.8. All right, boys, we're hot. We got 40 points in the season and 10 goals in the season.
40 points and 10 goals. Random player.
Random player, Joe Cirella.
Did Sorella have 40?
Tom Curvers.
Oh, Anthony's favorite to go to Tom Curvers.
Did Sorella have a 40-point season and a 10?
I
Yeah, he
think-
did. Sorella did. Sorella's actually a good one. Sorella's a very good one because not a lot of people are going to know that.
Can we use Tom Curvers in 40-point season and 500 games played?
Absolutely. Ken.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got the best of both worlds here. So Joe Cirella, we'll go right there.
0.0. Look at that.
And Tom Curvers.
I told you Sorella was going to be a really good one.
Boom. We have a 0.
I want to know who Brian's rando was for Tampa Bay 10 goals. Definitely can't be Freddie Modine. Chris Gratton is not really a rando for them. Chris Kontos.
Yeah.
Chris Santos, former Ranger, had 25, but
Yeah.
I think he might have been popular. Ooh, Stefan Richer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Michael Renberg was another one. Dino Ciccarelli, who had 33 for them in 97.
Yeah.
I think Darren Turcotte also, I think he might have played for them. I think. And, oh no, Craig Janney did. Craig Janney did. I know that.
Craig Janney, always the guy that's everywhere, but kind of nowhere at the same time.
Oh, Turcotte
right.
didn't play for them. It was Janney I was thinking of. Sorry.
Phil, go ahead. Put us in for the full screen.
I think, Sean Bergenheim, too. Sean Bergenheim had 14 goals for the Lightning.
Yeah, but he was one of those like RJ Umberger guys.
All right.
That like he had a good postseason, so everybody remembers him.
All right. So this is going 50 playoff games, Ottawa Senators, 30-goal season for any team. Then a Chicago Blackhawk. This is Marian Hossa.
Yeah, it's definitely
This
Marian.
is definitely Marian Hossa.
Yeah.
Right.
Although,
Playoff
oh no,
games
because he's got to
played.
play for the Blackhawks too. Never mind.
The first one is always the easiest. You know what, Mark? In honor of having Cal Clutterbuck on tomorrow, use Cal Clutterbuck for that first square. 50
There you
playoff
go.
career games.
Okay. I think that's going to be – okay, we're at 0.
Yeah.
Then an Ottawa Senator.
Martin Havlet.
That's
No,
going to be way too high.
Going to be too popular.
For this.
Laurie Boschman.
Does he have the playoff games?
Hold on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does.
He was Winnipeg, right, for a while?
Yeah, he was with Winnipeg for a very long time.
How do I spell his name?
Boschman. Oh, yeah, he definitely has it. 57.
All right, there it is. Laurie Boschman right there.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay,
30-goal season.
Has to be with Ottawa. Sean McEachern had a 30-goal season with them.
So with any team, I think as long as the guy scored 30 goals.
Oh, for any
the Senators. Yeah.
Vinny Prospel? Does he have the playoff games?
Prospel, I think, has the playoff games. Does he have
His name is Backlov. We always
He had
call
the
him.
30-goal season in Tampa, I think, right?
That's fine. As long as he played for Ottawa. It's any team.
Yeah, it's Prospel.
He had 33 between.
Yeah, Prospel has,
He had 33 between Tampa and
never
Philly.
scored that much. God damn, David, with his fucking sarcastic.
All right, so we're going Prospel?
Yeah, you can go Prospel. Prospel's a good one.
Incorrect.
Wait, no. How?
It's stupid. They do this all the time. They do this
He
all
had
the
a
time.
30-goal season in 2008. 33 goals, 71 points.
Yeah, but because of between two teams, they don't regard it as that.
Split between two teams.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Fuck out of here with that. Fuck out of here
Okay.
with that.
All right,
So we can use McEachern.
Back to the drawing board.
Sean McEachern.
Okay, because we're still at 0.
Yeah, that's why.
This one right here has got to be Marty Havlat then.
No, not just Havlat.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Let's see.
So he's got to play for the Senators. 1,000 games played.
So
No,
Senator.
no.
I'm just trying to. Senator and Blackhawk. Senator and
Blackhawk. Brad Marsh
scored 30 goals.
But he had, Brad Marsh never had a 30-goal season. Wait, hold on.
Alexei Zhamnov?
Zhamnov would fit that, but I think that's good. No, I don't think Zhamnov played with Ottawa.
He didn't?
I don't think
Never
he
did.
Damn, yeah, he didn't. No.
I was about to say, I know Zhamnov was a Bruin towards the end of his career. I think the 2004 deadline they got him.
And yeah, you're right. He finished with the Bruins.
Brian Smolinski?
I think Smolinski's a good one.
Smolinski does fit that because he had a 30-goal season.
We might need Smolinski for the next one, by the way.
And he played with both Ottawa and then
Why but does he have 1,000 games?
He's got 1,000 games.
He does?
Yeah, 1,056.
Wait, are we using it for the Chicago or for the 1,000
No,
games?
that's what Mark was saying. You might have.
No,
to
I'm
save
saying
it
look
for the
ahead.
1,000, that's why.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a 30-goal season with.
Smolinski has definitely 1,000 games. I know that.
Yeah.
It's the play. Does he have the playoff games?
And Smolinski's got a 30-goal season.
Playoff games. Okay. Smolinski could be used on the next one.
Yes. That's why
So
I was
this
just
is a
saying,
30-goal
don't be too
guy
hasty.
that has played 50-plus playoff games and has played both for Ottawa and Chicago.
And like I said, Marty Havlet's got all of them. Oh, wait, he's got a 30-goal
Hey,
season,
hold on. Did Vermette have a 30-goal season?
Andrew Vermette?
Antoine Vermette.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say. He did not. 27 when he was with the Blue Jackets.
No, Patrick Eves, I don't think ever played with Chicago. No, but he did have a 30-goal season, but again, split over two teams. So that's bullshit that they.
They do that all the time.
That's such shit because the number of total goals at the end of the year is 30. It's a 30-goal season.
Yeah.
Especially when it says it doesn't have to be with the team that it's with. Like, okay, that's fine then.
Yeah, exactly.
30-goal year. Wait. Peter Schaefer?
Oh, Peter Schaefer.
I think he had a 30-goal year. No, but he didn't play with Chicago. Shit.
Yeah, he didn't play with it.
No, he didn't have a 30-goal year either. He had a 20-goal season back in 2006.
Yeah.
That was his big year.
He didn't get Calder votes?
Peter Schaefer? No.
Yeah, no, I thought he actually had a pretty good rookie season.
No, 2005, 2006 was not his rookie year. Wow, this is a tough one. Because you want to try to keep Smolinski for the next one.
I know, but that's why I keep saying Havlet.
Havlet's too obvious.
Okay. But
way too obvious.
Sometimes what people will do is they'll do his number could be lower, expecting it's for a different box. Because I see that happen all the time.
Dave never had a 30-goal season, and I don't think he played for Chicago. I think I got one. I think I got one.
Reaction on that. What do you got?
50 games, playoffs, definitely hits that. 30-goal season. Troy Murray.
There we go.
Bang. Brian Smolinski, bang. Marian Hossa, bang. We're done. Uniqueness 9, though.
Uniqueness is 9. How do we get there? Because could have gone Peter Bondra, but that would have been higher. So again, Smolinski hits us with an 8. Nick Foligno would have been Smolinski? Well, the reason why is because people would use Marian Hossa.
Yeah. And then they would be
thinking they have another one. But the thing is, the top of the pyramid, it was Marian Hossa.
So hold on. So what is
so you guys were right to fight me on that. Martin Havlet was the number one answer. He would have been 75%. And Smolinski would have been 1.7. Because again, people that looked ahead knew you couldn't use this number. So that's why it's there.
Yeah, Peter Bondra was definitely higher, Brian, because that just Troy. How did Troy Murray play 1,000 games? 915. No, he missed.
Yeah. So
no, Bondra was a trade deadline acquisition 1 year, I think, in Chicago. Or no, he was there after the lockout, I think. I think his second to last year. Yeah.
right.
And no, it was his last year. He played 37 games for Chicago, and that was it. Because he was with the Thrashers in 06. They missed the playoffs. He leaves. The Thrashers make the playoffs. And I know he was with Ottawa at the 04 deadline because they traded him there.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, I got to wrap this up. It's a little bit early, but not a little bit early. We went 3 hours.
You're muted. Andy Strickland says here Troy Terry is available from Anaheim.
Ooh. Okay.
Troy
that's
Terry.
Kind of what I was saying before. That's why I think with the roster construction, I thought they were going to try to move Troy Terry. All right, guys, I'm going to run. I gotta go. Unfortunately.
All right, I'm gonna have to, but let's just square away the so everyone, Cal Clutterbuck's gonna be on tomorrow. Mark Clutterbuck's said that he's gonna try to get on like at 3 or so. So we have to make sure we're on before that. So when he gets on, there's nobody there. It'd be a disaster. So
yeah, no. We're gonna make sure. We'll do 2:30 Eastern time.
Do you have any questions prepared for Clutterbuck like you usually do?
Yeah, I'll probably ask him. Because I'm gonna go through the research on his career and get to that. So, but unfortunately, I gotta go make an important phone call for my other job. So,
all right, guys.
I'll talk to you guys later.
See you tomorrow. Maybe we're talking about a Stanley Cup victory too. We'll see.
Maybe we're gonna see about that one. Everybody, well, am I in the stream?
Yeah, I'm getting.
Yeah, in the stream. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon. A little bit of confusion for a second, but sorry, outside pressure's on me. I'll talk to you later.
See you later.